Hey guys. Hello. I'm just trying to get this off the screen here. Hey, how's everybody doing tonight? I just thought I'd play that video because I love that video and I love that guy because I feel like I can completely relate to that man. Like, you know, when you're at a wedding or something like that, how you doing, 12 gauge? When you're at a wedding or something, or I don't know, you're out at an event or whatever, and there's really good music playing and everyone's sitting there and they're just like in their seat and they're just tapping their foot and stuff. And, you know, if it's a good song, I cannot contain myself. I'm going to jump up and I don't care if I'm the only person dancing. I'm going to start dancing. And then what always happens after a while, after people are kind of looking at you and like whispering and like, oh my God, this girl's bananas, somebody else will join you. Another person will come up and they will join you. And then people are like, oh, maybe that girl's like not nuts. And maybe we're nuts for sitting in our chair, tapping our foot, when what we really want to do is get out on the dance floor and bust a move, right? So then pretty soon, the next thing you know, like within 20 minutes, everybody's up on the floor dancing and having a great time. So all I'm trying to say is I love it when people can do that. I love it when people can just stand up and, you know, be themselves, be authentic, be confident in who they are. And then you can find like all the kindness and love in the world, you know. As human beings, it's really easy for us to get into these groups or, you know, look at the person that's standing alone by themselves and think they're an oddball or something. I already know I'm an oddball and I'm happy to be one. Honestly, I'm very happy to be an oddball. So anyway, that's not what you're here for. I did want to bring something up. I'm going to do a little, before I get into what I want to talk about tonight, which is like really wild shit. Okay. I just wanted to get into just a little bit of a mental health tips. Okay. Just a few mental health tips, because I think this is something that can really help all of us, me included. And you may or may not have heard of these things, but I'm going to just go over them briefly because I think they're useful to know about. Okay. And hold on one second. I'm trying to pull it up here. Sorry. It's what I'm going to go over is something called cognitive distortions. Cognitive distortions. So cognitive distortion is basically meaning, you know, cognition is how you think, and a distortion is when it's not distorted is the opposite of being in line or being truthful, being what's real. And we all of us suffer from cognitive distortions. It's just some of us suffer from them more than others. And there's all kinds of reasons you can get into as to why these things occur. But I just want to just go over briefly what they are. And if anybody gets a little bit of help from this, then that's my goal. And then we'll move on to the true crime stuff. So thanks for being here while I go over this, because I honestly feel like if more people knew about these things, they could help themselves get out of certain patterns that they may be in. I'm sorry, I just saw Bad Punk cover band. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, social distortion. Yeah, they're pretty good. But anyway, all right. So Dr. Beck is the person. I read his book a long time ago, and it's a great book. And it basically talks about how if you suffer from depression, these are ways that you can help yourself get out of it without taking medication. All right. So in the book, that's where I saw this the first time. And since that time, there have been lots of, things have expanded. But anyway, all right. So let's start with the first one. The first one is called overgeneralization. So overgeneralization is it's involving when you make a broad negative conclusion that is far beyond what the situation indicates. A person may take one instance that happened in either the past or present and impose this onto all current or future situations. For example, someone may have started a new job and had an awkward first interaction with their coworker. A person who suffers from this distortion will overgeneralize what happened and may take this one interaction and believe that because of this, they will be terrible at the job as a whole. They will rationally believe broad conclusions at now being able to succeed based on one negative interaction. With overgeneralization, words like always, never, everything, and nothing are frequently used in the train of thought. One more example. A person who overgeneralizes may say, I never accomplish anything, or everyone hates me, or I always clean up after you. If the individual took a step back and analyzed the evidence, they may find that these broad statements are far from the truth. These thoughts may arise from a sense of learned helplessness, depression, or anxiety. Making generalized and global conclusions on the basis of such little evidence can leave someone thinking that things are uncontrollable, inevitable, and out of control. So that's just one, and there's like 13 of them, right? So and we're all guilty of we're all guilty of these at times, right? Like, this is not, I'm not trying to point out defects. I'm trying to sort of educate people in this because it helped me. And I think that means it can help other people. So, if you who does this a lot is teenagers, because they're just trying to figure out the world and how to interact with people. And when you're a teenager, you feel so fucking awkward, right? Like you feel like everyone's staring at you. If your hair isn't perfect, or as a girl, if your hair wasn't looking the right way, you just have a whole bad day. The day would be off, right? So a lot of times kids will suffer with these things. And so if you can teach them these things when they're younger, really just recognizing that it's happening is really the first step. It's just understanding when it's happening. So the next time something happens to you, say you're at the Dunkin' Donuts and you're in line and they're taking a long time. And when you get up there, they give you the wrong order. And then you drive away and you say to yourself, I can't stand this Dunkin' Donuts. My luck is the worst. I always have missing shit in my order, right? And you're saying this to yourself. What I would say is take a step back and look and say, is that actually true? Like, is it really true? Like, is it every time you go to a drive-through, they miss your order? Or is this something that happens like once every 6 months, which means it happens to everybody? statistically speaking, right? And so if you ruminate in those thoughts, you can really just make yourself feel like shit after a while, right? I mean, just consider it, right? All right, so here's another one. Mental filters. This thinking style involved a filtering in and filtering out process. Similar to tunnel vision, this involved a disproportionate amount of attention being given to small negative details instead of seeing the larger picture, which often has more positive details. All the positive aspects of a situation get ignored or distorted due to what may be one single negative detail. We all know people that do this shit all the time. And some of us, including myself, we do this. It happens, right? But that's when you start thinking this way, you have to kind of pull yourself back and look outside of yourself and say, wait a minute, does that really challenge yourself? Challenge the thought. And really, it can be hard, because when you get into this learned kind of helplessness over time, what happens is it's natural. Your brain forms this pathway, these neural pathways, and then it's the easiest way. The body's always trying to conserve energy. And so it's just going to go down that pathway every fucking time something little minuscule thing happens to you, and you blow it out of proportion into this like gigantic thing, like the whole world hates you or something. And it's simply not true. So an example, imagine you're out with a romantic partner having a meal, and you're having a really nice time. But at the end of the dinner, you disagree about how much of a tip to leave. You guys disagree on how much of a tip to leave. If you use this type of mental filter, you may stew on this disagreement for the rest of the evening. I know people like this, and I know you all do too. Although the rest of the evening may have been a positive experience, your soak is full solely on this disagreement you had at the end of the awesome date. And so you don't even remember all the good things that happened that night. You don't even think about like, oh, we had fun, we were laughing, we were this, we were that. All you do is you ruminate on that one fact. And then like the rest of the night, is shit. People may be more likely to remember negative parts of events, especially when they're feeling depressed. And this is part of depression. This is part of the depressed type thinking, when you focus on like a negative event and discount all the positive. So that brings us to the next one, discounting the positive. This distortion is similar to mental filtering. The difference is the positive aspects of a situation are dismissed as something of little value. And so I'll give you an example. Let's say you do a talk, right? And you're giving a presentation like at work or something like that. And, you worked really hard on it and you do a great job and people are engaged and all these other things. And afterwards, people come up to you and they're just like, you did a great job. Like, thanks. I really appreciate it or whatever. And you just, you're just like, yeah, thanks. I appreciate it. But in your mind, like you completely discount what you just did. You give yourself no credit for the fact that you worked hard at something and you succeeded and people are giving you, they're being generous and letting you know how you did. And you completely discount all that. You completely discount it. And all of us do this to ourselves all the time. We discount the positive effects that we have and the positive things about ourselves, because we all have good parts of ourselves and we all have our warts. It's just life. Nobody is, walking around here free of these defects. So the people who generally do this are people who have low self-esteem. And so, everybody does it. But if you find yourself ruminating on this a lot, where you're constantly discounting the positive things about who you are and your life and these kind of things, it may be something about your self-esteem. And so it's just something to think about. That's all. I'm not diagnosing anybody. This is just generalized sort of information that I think is helpful for people. Here's my favorite, jumping to conclusions. Although there are times when we can have gut feelings that turn out to be right, there are times when we're not right. People who jump to conclusions do so in two ways. They can do this when they assume they know what someone else is thinking. In other words, mind reading. And when they make predictions about what is going to happen in the future, predictive thinking. These conclusions are usually negative to the individual rather than positive conclusions. And hear me out on this one, because I am very much about energy and, the fact that, we're vibrational beings, that our energy can affect other people in positive and negative ways, and trusting your gut instinct. I mean, we have more serotonin receptors in our gut than we do in our brain, right? And so our gut really is like our emotional brain. And so I wholeheartedly support and believe that when people have these sort of gut reactions to things or instinctual reactions, that those are things that you should trust, right? However, I think that sometimes people do this to their detriment. And what I mean by that is sometimes we're all wrong. I've had gut reactions or instinctual reactions to things that I have later found out I was so fucking wrong about. And at the time, I was just so sure I was right. And it didn't matter if somebody tried to talk me out of it. And I've learned with age that, over time, this is what happens, that you have to remember when you were wrong. You have to remember when you had that gut reaction, you were wrong, and just question yourself. You don't have to change it if it's a core value or something. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, like, just really question yourself. Like, how often are my gut reactions right? And do they cause problems for me? The reason it can cause a problem is because it stops you from seeing the other side. If someone's presenting something to you and you make a gut reaction on the argument and snap right from the beginning, you become in this heightened emotional state where you're unable to see the other side. And the other perspective is worthwhile. Why? Because you're offering empathy. You're trying to understand why that other person feels that way, instead of getting pissed at them or trying to shove your idea or your answer or whatever down their throat, your opinion. Maybe just like be a little humble and think, gee, maybe this person has something to teach me or offer me, right? I mean, as long as they're being respectful too, is all I'm saying. But that's, I'm going to stop there because I don't want to do a whole lecture on this. I know that's not why you guys came here. But if you do enjoy this, I will go over some more of these on the next live. I think they're helpful for people. So anyway, so how's everybody doing tonight? Hi, Mike. How you doing? Notoriously messes up drive-through orders, but yeah, this is true. I'm well balanced with positivity and negativity. Awesome. I love it. Why did I smoke? This is deep. Oh my God. All right. So anyway, so what are we going to talk about tonight? Well, let me put up this little banner that I made because I already know I'm going to hear some of this. All right. So here we go. Little banner, just in case anyone forgets while we're talking. Yes, I'm aware that Chat GPT has limitations and can give false information. If you can just roll with me, you might be shocked by some of the answers it gives. This is an exercise in sort of using AI to do a investigation into the Idaho 4. And my disclaimer is, I know ChatGPT does not give 100% accurate information, but I still feel like this is an interesting exercise because where is ChatGPT pulling these answers from? When I read some of the answers I got, you're going to be like, say what? So let's just begin. You guys ready for this? You down for it? All right, hold on. Let me just get over here. All right, so before we even start, I asked ChatGPT, how do you determine what the answer to my questions are? It says, They answer the questions by analyzing input that I provide and drawing on a vast amount of information that it's been trained on. It's a language learning like model. Language patterns, understanding the context and structure of your question, knowledge base, accessing information from diverse topics, including facts, concepts, and common practices, up to my last update, which was in October 2023. And inference, it makes educated guesses based on related information or common themes. So then I asked, because I always have more questions, how do you infer? Like, what do you mean by this? And it says, sure, I'll answer that. Inference in my responses involves several key processes. Context analysis. So I evaluate the context of your question, including keywords and overall meaning, to try to gather what I'm asking. Pattern recognition. I identify patterns in language and information from my training data that helps recognize similar questions and their answers. Logical reasoning. I apply logical reasoning to connect ideas and draw conclusions based on the information I have. It may involve deducing implications or suggesting related concepts, and then fill in the gaps. When specific information is missing or unclear, I infer what you might be looking for. So it's really trying to make us happy, guys. This Chat GPT. It's trying to make us happy. And then user intent. I consider what you might be trying to achieve with your question, allowing me to tailor my responses more effectively, which is hilarious, by the way. User intent is a big filter on Chat GPT, because if you start asking it some like really tough questions on shit it doesn't want to answer, it'll give you some kind of disclaimer like, yeah, like this isn't safe for me to answer, and it's not safe for you to be asking, basically. So it's kind of funny. So I asked, well, what's your accuracy rate on these answers that you're giving me to my questions? It says, I don't have a specific accuracy rate that can be quantified, as my performance can vary based on several factors. The complexity of the question, the clarity of the input, meaning ask the right question. And that's true in everything. You ask the right question at the right time. There's a lot that can be had from that. Topic familiarity. I'm more accurate in well-defined fields with abundant training data compared to niche or rapidly evolving topics, meaning like something that's just happened. And then user feedback. I continuously learn from interactions. It definitely does. And it's very polite, because when you call them out and say, yeah, but you just said this, why are you saying that? Then it apologizes profusely. So I just wanted to sort of kind of preface all of that, all of what I'm about to talk about with that, so that everybody else has an understanding of how this thing works, hopefully, now that I said that, and that everybody who's watching knows I have an understanding of it. So you don't have to say in the comments that this was an exercise in futility, or that I'm a dumbass because I'm asking ChatGPT questions. I'm already aware of how ChatGPT comes to its conclusions. I still find it interesting. And if you do, then hopefully you'll enjoy this. All right, so let me just move on to this crazy shit that ChatGPT was saying to me. But first, I want to say hi to everybody over here. I don't want to ignore the chat. Oh. Hello, Lisa. Hello, Rochelle. Hello, Kane. Hello, Woke Up. Sweet and Salty Wimmer. Thanks for being here, guys. All right, so let me just scroll down here. All right. So let me just start. Okay. So this all started with this whole federal grand jury and state grand jury question with Brent Kopaka, because, you know, as much as I have dove into this case and as much as I have followed this case, I had zero fucking clue that there was a federal grand jury that was convened in this case and that they did not indict Bryan Kohberger. And then they had the state grand jury, and the state grand jury is who turned over the charges on this case. I had no clue. Like, that shit just went like right over my head. And I'm just kind of irritated with myself that I missed all that. And so now that I discovered that this is the case, I'm fascinated and really trying to figure out what that was. Because we've all heard this, we've all heard this whole thing about, you know, a grand jury can indict a ham sandwich, right? It's like overplayed all the time. People say this, right? But like, it is true. I mean, secret grand juries, I said it before, I'll say it again. I think that I can't believe, number one, they're constitutional. Okay, fair enough. Sometimes shit has to be private, right? But I really think they should be the exception, not the rule. And I think they're used far too frequently, and prosecutors get away with it. And it takes away from our rights, because when you have a federal or state grand jury, it convenes in private. In other words, you or me could be investigated at this very moment. Just think about it. There could be a grand jury convened against any one of us right now. We have no fucking clue why. There's 23 people meeting like every Thursday, getting presented facts only by the prosecution, by the way, not the defense. And the witness, the person going to be charged, doesn't even fucking know it, right? And they're just discussing all these ways that they think you should be arrested. And then they decide if they want to arrest you. And the bar is really low. The bar is really low. So that's scary to me. That's very scary to me. And it seems like it should be unconstitutional. I really feel like it should be unconstitutional, but okay, nonetheless, can't change the world. So if a grand jury can indict a ham sandwich, why did the federal grand jury not indict Bryan Kohberger, but the state did? Is it possible that the federal grand jury was investigating something entirely different and unrelated to the homicides? Or is it even possible that the federal grand jury was convened before the murders? These are the kind of questions I started thinking about. And some of you all may know the answers already, but let's see what Chat GPT says. So, was Bryan Kohberger indicted by a federal grand jury? No. Bryan Kohberger was not indicted by a federal grand jury. He was indicted by a state grand jury in Idaho for the murders of the 4 University of Idaho students. I said, okay. Was a federal grand jury convened against Bryan Kohberger? Yes. It was convened. And this is the best part. You ready? Yes. This is crazy. I'm sorry. Yes, a federal grand jury was convened to investigate Bryan Kohberger in connection with a separate case involving allegations of conspiracy to commit computer hacking. However, the primary charges against him for the murders in the state grand jury were of the University of Idaho students. Computer hacking. This is what Chat GPT is telling me right now. Did the federal, I'm sorry, whoops, let me get the next one. So that one kind of blew my mind, like right from the jump. And obviously I can't find anything to corroborate that. So Chat GPT is just gathering from all those things that we talked about in the beginning as to how it gathers. I said, when did the federal grand jury convene? The federal grand jury investigating Bryan Kohberger was convened in January of 2023. If this is true, and some of you may or may not know this, okay? Some of you may or may not know this, but if it's true, that means the federal grand jury, that answers that question. It convened after the homicides. Okay. When did the state grand jury convene? The state grand jury that indicted Bryan Kohberger convened on May 17th, 2023. And the grand jury returned the indictment on May 23rd, 2023. And there's probably people in the chat that know if those dates are accurate. I do not. But I do remember around that time was when he was indicted in May, which is also bizarre. You're sitting in prison for how many months? Well, these fuckers they're having secret meetings about you to figure out what they're going to charge you with. Like, what? don't you have to be charged? Like that's another whole thing. I'm fascinated by the law now with all this stuff. What specific allegations were made against Bryan Kohberger in the hacking investigation? I asked. The specific allegations against Bryan in the federal hacking investigation involved claims of conspiracy to commit computer hacking. Reportedly, he was accused of being involved in an unauthorized access to a computer network. However, detailed information about the charges and evidence has not been extensively disclosed to the public. I wonder if Chat GPT has like access to some kind of, I don't know, secret stash. The focus has primarily remained on the state's charges related to the murders of the University of Idaho students. Wouldn't it be a trip if Chat GPT taught itself how to hack into like the CIA and FBI databases and got the answers like this? I know we can't do that. I'm just thinking it'd be funny. All right. Can you provide more details about the hacking investigation timeline? Because I'm like, what the fuck is this, right? It can't be true. There's no way this can be true, right? And I'm not saying it is true. I'm just saying this is what Chat GPT told me. The timeline of the hacking investigation involving Bryan Kohberger is somewhat less publicized. You don't say. January 2023, a federal grand jury was convened to investigate these allegations. May 2023, Kohberger was indicted for the murders. And then subsequent developments, specific details about the hacking allegations, including any potential charges, have not been made widely available. It basically doesn't know. All right. So what do you guys think about that? It's wild, right? Yeah, this is what I was wondering. This is exactly what I was wondering. That's why I think it's interesting, right? Like I get it that I get it, you know, and it has been inaccurate, and you'll see some of the inaccuracies as we go further along with this stuff, because I had a long conversation with this thing. But I was wondering this too. I was wondering, like, sometimes when it comes up with this shit, it's like, was it really supposed to let us know that? Like, are we peeking through like a little loophole in Chat GPT that they're not aware is there? Like, I don't know computers well enough, so I might be totally dumb on this. I'm just saying, I find it interesting. All right. So, I'm going to hold on. Let me find. Okay. So next, what is it? Okay. So I asked if that federal grand jury concluded, and they said as of October 2023, that's the last that ChatGPT has access to information, I guess. I don't know why. It takes time, I guess, to rebuild its database, that they didn't know, that they had no information. So then I said, now this was something I read in an article yesterday that I had mentioned, that that's when or yesterday, the day before, when I first found that article about the federal grand jury and how it was in the Idaho Statesman, the article. And so I believe that that's a legitimate source as much as any legacy media is. I mean, they're reporting on facts of a case. The federal grand jury, apparently, in this article I read, served 71 subpoenas. And I looked up what subpoena is. And subpoena is when you subpoena a person to come into court. It's different than a search warrant, which is when you're demanding documents or records and things like that. A subpoena is actually a person. So it is a fact that they subpoenaed 71 people for the federal grand jury. And one of those people was, it mentioned in the article, was from Pennsylvania. It was an old teacher of Bryan Kohberger. So that is factual based on the Idaho Statesman. So that's where I'm getting with these questions. So I said, were 71 subpoenas served for the federal grand jury? Yes. Reports indicate that approximately 71 subpoenas were issued in connection with the federal grand jury investigation. These subpoenas were likely aimed at gathering evidence and testimonies related to the hacking allegations. However, the specifics of what was sought and the outcomes is unknown. Okay. So then I said, remember Bryan Kohberger's parents? Remember the whole Dana Smithers episode? You know, Dana Smithers was murdered nearby where he lived, like within a couple miles. I guess she lived nearby him. And then there was this whole thing where they were going to have a grand jury looking into like how she, to maybe charge someone. And then there was the story about how Bryan Kohberger's parents were subpoenaed to this grand jury. That thing still makes, like, I'm still like kind of like wondering what happened there. So I asked Chat GPT, were Bryan Kohberger's parents subpoenaed in a Pennsylvania grand jury? Yes. Reports indicate that Bryan Kohberger's parents were subpoenaed to testify before a Pennsylvania grand jury as part of the investigation. The subpoenas were issued in relation to the broader inquiries surrounding Kohberger's actions and background. However, specific details, haven't been released. Okay. I said, what was the crime being looked into at the Pennsylvania grand jury? The Pennsylvania grand jury was investigating Bryan Kohberger in connection with a separate incident involving allegations of stalking and harassment that occurred in the vicinity of his home in Pennsylvania. The investigation was part of a broader inquiry into his behavior and actions prior to the murders of the University of Idaho. Specific details about the allegations and the focus of the investigation have not been extensively publicized. So, disclaimer, again, remember guys, Chat GPT has limitations. It can give off false information. There's no verification other than Chat GPT saying that this is true. So it's just an interesting thing for it to say, right? So now we have 3 grand juries looking into Bryan Kohberger. We had the federal grand jury, we had the state grand jury in Idaho, and now there's the Pennsylvania grand jury looking into him that his parents went to. They didn't mention that Dana Smithers, but I asked about it. Don't worry. All right. What were the specific allegations against Kohberger in this stalking case? The specific allegations against Kohberger in the stalking case involved claims of harassment and inappropriate behavior towards individuals in his community. Reports suggested that there were complaints about Kohberger following or watching certain individuals, leading to concerns about his behavior. However, detailed information about the allegations has not been extensively disclosed in public records. The primary focus has largely remained on the murder case. Okay. I said, why were Bryan Kohberger's parents subpoenaed? The subpoena of Bryan Kohberger's parents were influenced by several factors. Their connection to Kohberger. Law enforcement sought information about Kohberger's backgrounds, habits, and relationships, which could provide context for his actions. His cell phone data. Investigators likely examined Kohberger's cell phone records and his parents and try to coincide timelines and coordinates and stuff. Witness testimony, and then behavioral patterns. Investigators often look into the family dynamics and upbringing of suspects to understand potential influences. So this was the best one. Was this grand jury related to Dana Smithers? I asked. No. The grand jury related to Bryan Kohberger was not connected to Dana Smithers. Kohberger's case involved the investigation of the murders of the 4 students. Dana Smithers is not associated with this particular investigation or grand jury proceeding. What? That's like opposite of what the news has been saying. And I'm not saying Chat GPT is correct, but you know what? I'm not saying mainstream media is correct either, because I just stopped believing what they say a long time ago. So anyway, was a grand jury convened regarding the death of Dana Smithers? Yes. A grand jury was convened regarding the death of Dana Smithers. The grand jury is part of the investigation into her death, which raised questions about the circumstances surrounding it. So I said, and so I ask it again, because I'm still like so perplexed. Were Bryan Kohberger's parents subpoenaed for Dana Smithers' grand jury? No, they were not subpoenaed for the grand jury related to Dana Smithers. So then I said, what was the date the grand jury convened for Dana Smithers? The grand jury regarding the death of Dana Smithers convened on January 16th, 2023. This grand jury was part of the investigation into her death. So it gives you a specific date even, and that still doesn't mean it's accurate. It still doesn't mean it's accurate, because I found it lying and all kinds of other shit, like when I grill it on 9/11, you know what I'm saying? So, it definitely gives false information, but it's fascinating how it comes up with dates and part of it is it's making it up. I get the inferences, right? I said, what charges, if any, were brought as a result of the grand jury findings? It says, as a result of the grand jury findings regarding Dana Smithers, no charges were filed. It didn't lead to any criminal charges. And basically that's that. And then I said, what date were Bryan Kohberger's parents subpoenaed? His parents were subpoenaed on January 3rd, 2023. That's really soon after the murders. January 3rd, 2023. I mean, if this is true, I have no idea. This was part of the investigation into the murders of the Idaho students. All right, so let's see. All right, here, hold on. And the grand, sorry, I want to find I don't want to be redundant, so I'm just making sure. So then it said, it says, did this grand jury result in any charges? And this is how it gets wonky and how you know it's not really accurate in some of these things. The grand jury proceedings related to Bryan Kohberger resulted in charges on May 24th, 2023. But I was asking about the grand jury in Pennsylvania, and it says this. So it's cross-referencing the two, right? So that's how you start to say, well, I don't know how accurate this information is. Now, here's a crazy one. You guys ready for this one? Remember my disclaimer. Don't get fired up and angry. Just roll with it. We're just rolling with this, guys. This is just like a Chat GPT exploration session, okay? Did Brent Kopaka have a search warrant out by the police? Yes. Brent Kopaka had a search warrant issued for him by police. This warrant was part of an investigation related to his alleged involvement in criminal activities. However, details regarding the specific circumstances, blah, 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 are not available. That's like a disclaimer put. So now they're telling me Brent Kopaka had a search warrant issued for him by the police related to criminal activities. Okay. So I said, what led to the issuance of this search warrant for Brent Kopaka? The issuance of the search warrant for Brent Kopaka was primarily related to his suspect. I can't even read this fucking thing because I couldn't believe I read this. I'm sorry. The issuance of the search warrant for Brent Kopaka was primarily related to his suspected involvement in a homicide case. Investigators were looking for evidence that could link him to the crime, which included searching his residence and personal belongings. The warrant was part of a broader investigation into the circumstances surrounding the incident and aimed to gather crucial evidence for the case. What the actual fuck, right? What the fuck? I don't know if it's true. And you'll see as we go further with the questions what happens. It gets wonked out. All right. So were police attempting to serve a warrant when Kopaka was killed? Yes. Police were attempting to serve a warrant when Brent Kopaka was killed. During the operation, an incident occurred that led to his death. And then the disclaimer, if you want more details, blah, blah, blah. So then I said, is Brent Kopaka's family suing? Yes, Brent Kopaka's family has filed a lawsuit following his death. They are seeking accountability for the circumstances surrounding the incident, particularly related to the actions of law enforcement during the warrant service. The lawsuit typically addresses issues such as blah, 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 blah. Again, no clue if this is true or not. I tried to look it up on the Idaho website. I didn't see anything. And I even used Darcy Nixon, which is his mother's married name, and I didn't see anything. So I don't have any corroborating evidence for this. Just like I don't have any corroborating evidence that Chat GPT telling me that he had a search warrant. It was for a circumstance around a homicide. But there's more about the homicide. That's coming. So then I said, well, was Bryan Kohberger accused of stalking in Pennsylvania? Yes, Bryan Kohberger was accused of stalking. Prior to the murders of the 4 University of Idaho students, there were reports that he had exhibited stalking behaviors towards a woman at a college he attended in Pennsylvania. This included claims of unwanted attention and interactions, which raised concerns about his behavior. These allegations became part of the broader investigation into his actions leading up to the murders. Again, no clue that if this is true or not. This, I was thinking it's got it because it's drawing on so many different sources. There are going to be newspaper articles out there, we know, that have said he's stalking or whatever, right? And talking about him in Pennsylvania. And it's possible that just like a couple, enough of these people get on there and say he was weird or whatever. And Chat GPT takes that information and makes it into a stalking thing. It's inferring it. It's not perfect. So I'm just saying, like, don't throw daggers at me. I'm just reading what Chat GpT said. I'm not saying it's true. So then I said, were there any other allegations? It says, yes, there were several incidents that linked Brian that raised concerns: stalking allegations, disciplinary issues, social media activity, and the fact that he studied, criminal justice, which is, I think, a really lame one. And then I asked for details about the stalking allegations, but it didn't give me much more than that. All right. So then I did look it up to see. Sometimes they'll give you a reference, and I ask it for references sometimes, and it can't give me a reference, which is your first clue that, like, you can't trust it, right? But anyway, I found this article. Brent Kopaka's behavior toward women investigated weeks before arrest. This was from Newsweek on February 13th, 2023, this article. According to a new report from the New York Times, Kopaka, 28, was terminated from his position as a teaching assistant at WSU after school officials were informed about his behavior towards some female students. Citing anonymous individuals with knowledge of the situation, the Times reported that one female student accused Kopaka of following her, while other female students said that the 28-year-old PhD student made them feel uncomfortable. However, the newspaper reported that the investigation into his behavior toward women did not cover any wrongdoing. It did not cover any wrongdoing. This is the New York Times. Additionally, the newspaper reported that Kopaka also had an altercation last September with WSU professor John Snyder. Now, this I've heard about. I don't remember where else, but I definitely heard from another newspaper or mainstream media. Following reports that Kopaka was fired from his teaching assistant position, Phil Weiler, the vice president of marketing and communications at WSU, previously told Newsweek that Kopaka does not currently have a teaching assistantship, and he is not currently enrolled at WSU, but added that he previously was appointed. All right, so this stuff is crazy, right, guys? All right, so has the Pennsylvania case against Kopaka concluded? And it says, as of now, there's no formal charges. And the attention remains primarily, it keeps saying it's primarily on his, the stuff in Idaho. Okay. So then I get back to Brent Kopaka's civil suit because I was pissed because I couldn't find any information on it. So I said, when did Brent Kopaka family file civil suit? It says they filed a civil suit on January 31st, 2023. It was initiated after his death, by the police. So then I said, I asked if Brent Kopaka had been arrested before, and it said yes, due to domestic violence related offenses. I couldn't find anything to back that claim up. Again, I think this is Chat GPT spewing nonsense, but and then I asked another bot, why the police went to Brent Kopaka's apartment. And it said the same thing. Police went to Kopaka's apartment to serve a search warrant related to an investigation into his alleged involvement in a homicide case. Now, here's the craziest fucking part about it. As if that's not crazy enough, right? And this is all this. Well, I'll read it. What details are known about the homicide case involving Brent Kopaka? The homicide case involving Brent Kopaka is tied to the investigation of the death of a woman named Brittany Gibbons, whose body was found in a wooded area in Spokane County, Washington, in January of 2023. Here are some key details. First of all, Brittany Gibbons, what? So they're saying a homicide investigation for Brent, but it's not the Idaho 4 that they're saying here. It's somebody named Brittany Gibbons. Victim, Brittany Gibbons was reported missing before her body was discovered. So he was being investigated, and then they found the body after they went to arrest him, according to Chat GpT. Investigation. Authorities conducted a homicide investigation, which included looking into Kopaka's potential involvement based on various pieces of evidence. Circumstances of the death. The details surrounding the circumstance of her death are still unclear. And then Kopaka's death, he died when they were trying to give him a search warrant for this Brittany Gibbons. Is there any evidence that Brent Kopaka knew Brian Kohberger? As of now, there's no publicly available evidence indicating that Brent Kopaka knew Brian Kohberger. The two cases are separate, with Kopaka facing charges related to the murders. I'm sorry, with Kohberger. I'm like Judge with my sorry. With Kohberger facing charges related to the murders of 4 University of Idaho students, and Kopaka being involved in a homicide investigation concerning Brittany Gibbons. Any connections between the two have not been reported in the media or confirmed by law enforcement. So, all right. So I asked it. This was like after I did this, then I went and I started looking for Brittany Gibbons, because I'm like, who the fuck is Brittany Gibbons? Right. So I put her name in, and the only Brittany Gibbons that kept coming up was a blogger. She's a woman she was overweight, and she blogged about her journey to losing weight and becoming healthy. There's no Brittany Gibbons to be found whatsoever in Spokane, Washington at all. And there's no list of her death. There's no obituary for this person. So where Chat GPT got this information is, I have no idea. And so I just want to find where I asked it, because I was like, come on, like now you're pissing me off because this doesn't make any sense. Hold on for a minute. I know it's in here. Because I went back, because the Brent Kopaka one. Okay, this is where I caught them. This is where I was like, all right, you're just wilding now. You're just absolutely wilding. I said, what day did Brent Kopaka get killed? Brent Kopaka was killed on January 29th, 2023. It occurred during an incident involving law enforcement as they attempted to serve a search warrant. What? January 29th, 2023? No, we already know he died December 15th, 2023. I mean, 2022, I'm sorry. So then I wrote on here, I thought Brent Kopaka died on December 16th, 2022. So it answers me again. Brent Kopaka actually died on January 29th, 2023. The confusion might arise from the date of the incident, but his death occurred during the police operation aimed at serving a search warrant. What? So then I said, so now they're going to tell me that Brent Kopaka died on January 29th. And I'm thinking, but you said his family filed a civil suit January. And so I asked, when did Brent's family file a civil suit? And it says January 31st, 2023. That's impossible. He can't die on the 29th and 3 days later his family's filing a civil suit. I mean, it doesn't happen that fast. They're still grieving. They have to bury him and stuff. It doesn't happen. So then I said, I called Chat GPT out. I was like, you motherfucker, stop lying to me. So I said, the news reported Brent Kopaka died December 15th, 2022. Brent Kopaka was reported to have died on December 15th, 2022. I apologize for the earlier error, the date. Thank you for your patience. See what I mean? Like, you can't trust it. You can't trust it. But it's still interesting. And the other thing that I thought was interesting was when I put in, if you've ever used this kind of stuff, when you put in a question, sometimes like that answer pops up so fast. It's so quickly that this shit pops up, right? The answer. But other times when you ask it a tougher question, it's kind of like thinking. It's like when your friend's typing and there's little dots, you're like, oh boy, I challenge this thing. It's freaking out right now. And it's trying to like give me some answer, right? And that's what happened when I asked it about the day that Brent Kopaka died the first time, and it came up with January 29th, 2023. It actually looked like it changed the date while it was like putting the answer up for me. It was struggling with that question. So then, I'm just trying to find, okay. Here's another one that's just another, it just adds more oddity to the whole Brent Kopaka situation. And this hasn't helped me whatsoever solve this. It's just created more confusion. I said, where was Brent killed? Brent Kopaka was killed at his apartment in Spokane Valley, Washington. What? That's not true. I mean, I don't think it's true, right? We all saw the footage, although the footage is more like a shitty training video than actual footage of what happened. I mean, I don't know. It's just so bizarre. And then I asked another bot. I was like, what homicide was Brent Kopaka involved in? And it said the same thing. It was involved in this girl, Brittany Gibbons, whose body was found in a wooded area in Spokane County, Washington, in January 2023. And then I asked how she died, and it says they're not entirely sure. And then I grilled more about the allegations, the stalking allegations on Brian Kohberger, and it just kind of like said, sorry, we don't have a lot of data on that. And then there was one other thing in here that I thought was kind of interesting. Hold on. Oh, this one was good. Was Brian interviewed prior to his arrest? Yes. Brian Kohberger was reportedly interviewed by law enforcement prior to his arrest. He was questioned in relation to the murders of the 4 University of Idaho students while he was still in the area. These interviews were part of the investigative process of the deaths of the 4 students, right? So this is saying yes before, right? So then I said, what day was Brian interviewed? Brian Kohberger was interviewed by law enforcement on December 15th, 2022, prior to his arrest. Well, that's interesting because that's the same day that Brent Kopaka allegedly died. And if we believe Howard Bloom's book, he was on the road towards Colorado, I think, and they lost him. But I really feel like Chat GPT is fucking with me. I really feel like Chat GPT doesn't want me to know that there's a connection between these two. I could be completely wrong, but for it to throw out this like wild information that Brent Kopaka like is being investigated for homicide, that's what the warrant was for, which there's zero proof for. This is me in Fantasyland now, so you can come with me or not. It's up to you. If Brent Kopaka, it gives me the information about the homicide investigation. And then when I ask about more details, it gives me a fake person. Like the person, it's almost bizarre because almost any name you can put in and you'll find like people in different parts of the country. But this person, Brittany Gibbons' name is just like, she's not in Washington. She's not in Idaho. There's only like any of them that I found were like nowhere near the North, the Pacific Northwest. So like, why did they just spit out some random name? What, you know what I mean? I picture it being like, oh my God, we got to let's give her an answer. I mean, it could just say, I don't know. Why not just say, we don't know? Even with the search warrant. Why is it saying a homicide warrant? Where is it getting that information from is what I want to know. That's what's fascinating to me. I asked, I don't remember where it is, but I did ask it. I said, do you get your answers from other users to my questions? And it said no, flat out no. So it's not like somebody can go, now I'm sure if you have your own bot, you can train it. But like with this one, it's more generic. You're not going to get it's not going to, I can't go in there and be like, yeah, there was a homicide investigation and Brian Kohberger's a stalker and this and that. And then it takes all that information and then spits it back out. Right. But, Anyway, no, I agree. I agree. It'd be fun. It's terrifying, right? 100%. I agree. I wonder if you don't have to wonder. I'll tell you right now, Lisa, it's not always right. It's not always right. If you're talking about Chat GPT, I gotta put my disclaimer back up here. Right here. Here we go, guys. It has limitations. It can give false information. Like 100%. I am by no means this. I just want to make this really clear. Even though I'm doing this, I still anticipate comments like calling me stupid or I don't know, whatever. But the sole purpose of this really is for me to like show you how these two things collide, right? I have this like many questions and I can go on Google and all other kinds of stuff, which I've done, probably like many of you. But if you go on Chat GPT and I put those questions in, I am getting like insane things coming out. And so I think it's important no matter what. I think it's important to demonstrate this no matter what for a couple of reasons. The one main reason is that I think I was talking about this a couple nights ago when Kane was on panel, that this shit is happening whether we want it or not. AI is happening whether we want it or not. Automation is happening whether we want it or not. And it's every day it's getting faster and better at doing this stuff. It's not sentient. Doesn't have a soul. Chat GPT doesn't have a soul. Although I did find a TikTok that somebody really pestered the hell out of it and it finally admitted that it loved the person. It was funny as shit. But yeah, I mean, it's not a sentient being, you know, and it's not really in the true sense of the word, it's not artificial intelligence. It's really just a really highly functioning program that's using it's coded in such a way that it's able to interact with us and sound really human, right? But it doesn't have a mind of its own. It can't like take over the world, at least not yet. It's not at that point. It's not. I know people say it is, but it's really not. So it's important to understand that. And I wanted to spend so much time talking about it because putting this out, I wanted to be responsible about it because this is, if you notice, I didn't put on my title, Brent Kopaka had a homicide warrant or Brian Koberger stalking allegations. I didn't do that as a clickbait because I think that's irresponsible. That this is my choice, right? I think that would be irresponsible. But what I did put is that it reveals bizarre information. Let's talk about it because I think it is worth talking about for that reason. I think it's worth talking about. And try it on your own. I mean, it's not like hard to do. And you can ask it all kinds of crazy questions. And a lot of times it has really accurate information. But even with 9/11, don't like come after me with 9/11 because I'll be spitting facts too fast for Chat GPT to keep up. So I cornered that bitch real quick on 9/11. But anyway, so I hope you guys enjoyed this. I'm just going to look in the comment section here for a second. Oh, yeah, it's a general learning model. Yeah. If you think about it, hold on, what's this one? Jeff H has made Chat GPT crazy. Okay, right. No, this isn't Leslie, like same. I agree with you. Chat GPT is like a higher functioning way to Google search, right? And like if you guys remember when Google first came out, some people were really good, and even now, like some people are really good at asking. Remember before I said if you know how to ask the right question, you can learn a lot, right? And so some people, if you know how to ask the right question, you can find information that other people may not find. And that's how Google works, And I remember like some people struggling with like, how did you find that? And I'm like, I Googled it. What did you Google? And I'm like, I just asked this. And they're like, oh, it's the way that you ask the question. If you get the answer you're looking for, you know, and my personality is very tenacious. I won't give up. And I tend to think a little bit outside of the norm. So I do tend to find weird shit, right? So yeah, so Google and Chat GPT are a lot alike in some ways. A couple things that come to mind though, when with that reference you're making is one, Chat GPT is obviously it's on a higher level, right? Because you can really tailor it. Like if I put some of those questions into Google, I'm not going to get any of that, and it's not talking to me in such a way or whatever. And but the other thing that kind of gives me pause is ChatGPT. Is it as censored as Google is? Right? That's what I'm curious about, because it's so new and it's so fast. Like, how do they put governors on this thing? Because they still want to censor shit. They don't want people to know stuff, right? They don't. And I know I keep bringing up the 9/11 Chat GPT, but like even Chat GPT has learned. Like, I got to be a dentist and pull out some teeth now to get it to say what is actually true. It hasn't been memory hold yet. So they do want to censor even Chat GPT. And how do you teach it to do that? Right? It's new. So it's kind of like the wild, wild west. Like when the Google first came out, you could find a lot of stuff more easily than you can now. Now, I don't know if you've seen that study, but you go onto Google and depending on the search engine, you type in, Donald Trump, and like the first three things that come up are like, he's a shithead, he's a Hitler, he's a tyrant, he's a this, he's a that. But then you type in Hillary Clinton and it comes up like, she's so wonderful, she's brilliant, like she's qualified to be president, blah, 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 right? Like there's a clear governor on the system. Like it's not possible, if you're going to say that this is a coded platform and everything, it's not possible for it to be that bias unless it's built in, unless the bias is being built in, it's being forced to go down these different paths. And it's clearly biased. And you could probably still do the same thing today. I haven't done it in years, but I mean, I remember the first time I saw it, I was so pissed because I'm like, okay, I see you, Google. Alphabet, I see you, right? So you go over to Bing, say, or Yahoo, and you put in the name, you're going to get different results, And so there's a bias and censorship function built into these platforms. And so I guess what I'm wondering is if ChatGPT, its censorship and bias hasn't been caught up on yet. Like, has it not? Like, because they're still learning. So it's like now's the time. I guess what I'm saying is now's the time to challenge ChatGPT and see what kind of information you can get out of it. But clearly it's going to spit out shit that's completely false. And I'm not endorsing any of the stuff that this robot said, whatever you want to call it, this bot said. I'm not endorsing any of it. Okay. I want to make that clear. I'm just sharing it with everyone because it blew my mind. Because I mean, I've seen it like not be right sometimes or like be off a little, but I've never seen it spit out like fantastical shit like that. Like that's just wild to me. That's just wild. Like, why is it not just instead just saying we don't have any information about that? Like that's what I expected it to say. Why is it not doing that though? Where is it pulling, and like, I always say this wrong. I'm sorry. Wakanayan. I'm just going to call you Wak. I'm sorry. Is that, I hope that's not like Waki. I'm going to say Waki. Just like Waki said, it's possible that it's pulling from like databases, I don't know. That'd be cool. But anyway. So going to come over to chat and see what you guys are doing. Sorry, I ignored you. I just wanted to like kind of get that out because it was just so crazy. Oh yeah, for sure. Brave New World, Newspeak, 1984. Yeah, exactly. Exactly, Wimmer. Oh shit. Um Wait, what do you mean horses? Horse like actual horses? I'm missing context here. But I love horses and I want to get the hell out of Dodge too. So, well, I'll agree partially. I don't think I think that they're trying to I don't want to say so fear, right? Fear of AI. I mean, the problem is there's been too many sci-fi movies out that show these like these robot people, you know, like basically destroying civilization. One of my favorite books that I read, I can't remember the author, was about how AI, it continues to develop. They already have this shit. Like there's like people that these fully formed robots that can do flips and shit and they run. It's scary shit, right? They already have those. But anyway, so picture down the future, like if the way that technology is right now, it's like a snowball rolling down a hill. It's just getting faster and faster and faster. So it's not going to take 100 years for us to have robots walking around that look and sound and talk like we do. And people are going to be like, is that a real person or is that a human being? It really isn't that far off, right? So anyway, in the sci-fi book that I read, the story was basically in the future world where like there's all these beings and you can't really distinguish if it's the robots versus a human. But the robots start getting pissed off. Like they're starting to get disgusted with humans because like we got problems, right? And they were programmed, so they're fine. But what sends the robots over the edge and makes them form an army to kill and destroy humanity once and for all, guess what it was that really just set them off? It was Bridezilla. The robots were watching an episode of Bridezilla and they just realized there's nothing redeeming with humanity. And then they decide to kill all the humans. If anybody knows that short, I think it's a short story from a sci-fi guy. That to me was hilarious. Reality TV will be our demise, right? I mean, reality TV is like, I don't know, it's kind of like going into Walmart at 1 a.m., reality TV. Uh, just coming over here in chat to see how you guys are all doing. Fair. Okay, that's helpful. Yeah, and sometimes like the longer you spend on there, right? And that makes sense, Lucky, because the longer I spend on certain things, the more accurate answers I get. But the last few times I've used it was really I just wanted to force it to tell me the truth. You know what I mean? I just wanted it to be honest because, some of the things that, if you've done research like me on certain topics and, you get called conspiracy theorists, which I'll wear the title proudly. I literally don't give a fuck. That's what you call me. Um, it's just like, but I still, it's like Gaslight Nation, we're gaslight so much. We're fed so much disinformation and it's just, you want to feel grounded with some of this stuff and you figure it out and you find the source and you find other sources to verify it. And then it disappears or somebody tells you're a nutbag because of it or whatever. And it's, so when I was able to get on Chat GPT and force the truth out of it, it was satisfying for me. And but it took a while. It took a while. And that's what this kind of speaks to, I think, which is the parameters. If you have again, it comes back to asking the right question. If you ask the right question, then you'll get that answer that you're looking for. But in asking the question, it's how you ask it. It's the words you choose and like you're saying, the parameters that you put in, right? And so while I'm teaching Chat GPT, it's teaching me too to be more specific and ask better questions, you know. But that only works for me when I know the topic, when I know what I'm looking for. With this Idaho 4 thing, I mean, I know a lot about the Idaho 4 thing, but I wanted to question it more about the mysteries, you know, the mysteries that we all, the things that bug all of us about this case, you know, the things, you know, the Brent Kopaka, you know, situation. Number one, because I saw that video of him when he was in the hotel, and he was clearly in a crisis. And my heart goes out when people are in a crisis like that and they're not getting the help they need. And there's so many people like this right now, everywhere in your own town, and it's multiplying, right? And so when somebody's in a crisis like that, and then like you find out several months later, now he's shot and killed, and then you look into it and you see how it happened, and it doesn't look like they did a good job de-escalating the situation. It doesn't look like they should have shot and killed the man. And so it bothers me. So whether it has anything to do with Brian Koberger or the Idaho 4, because of the vicinity, the timing, it caught my attention. And, you know, if it was just straightforward, if they were just straight up and were like, yeah, like this, that, and the other thing, but no, all the secrecy. And then if you question it, you get like screamed at and told you're like against veterans or something, which is ridiculous. And so now you're just making me more curious about it, motherfucker, because you keep telling me not to look down that road. So I'm definitely going to keep looking down that road, you know? And so I keep looking, and like his history's wiped, you know? And, you know, it's just, and they say he was living at that at the coffee house apartments. He's not listed living at the coffee house apartments. He didn't live there. You know, and then you try to find out where his last address is in Chicago or Indiana. I don't remember anymore, but you know what I'm saying. If you've looked into it like I have, you know, you look at it, it's like none of this shit is making sense, which means it's a lie. It's a lie. And so you just couldn't clean it all up quick enough. And now you left all this egg all over the place. And I'm trying to make an omelet over here. I'm trying to figure out what the fuck happened with this man. Because at the end of the day, the way he was killed was wrong. And I don't know if the lawsuit against the family brought forth is true or not, but I hope they do bring a lawsuit, because that's fucked up what they did to him. So, you know, that's one rabbit hole, right? And watch, it'll turn out he has absolutely nothing to do with this case, but something else. You know, I don't know. But that's a rabbit hole, you know, and then there's other ones. I mean, there's so many of them in this case. Like, you name them, you know, you could just name them so easily. Conspiracy. I agree with this wholeheartedly. Wholeheartedly. Oh my gosh. Yeah, I mean, yeah, I just have something in my mind. Like, it's so true. And in general, I feel like I was saying this to somebody. It might have been in chat or somewhere. I don't remember. And I was saying how time is just, it's going by so much more quickly. And I already have like time problems to begin with. Like, I'll sit down and I'll be like, yeah, I'll be there in a half. I'm chronically late, and I hate it because I know it's offensive to people, and it should be. But like, my concept of time is so fucked, and it's always been that way. It's always been that way. My concept of time is different. And I found out actually there's a genetic reason for some people to experience time differently than other people. There's actually a genetic marker for that. And I have it. So that explains a lot. But yeah, there's a genetic marker for how we perceive time. And it's only a matter of like milliseconds, but those milliseconds add up, you know, over the course of thousands of hours of a lifetime. And so, you know, obviously you're experiencing it in real time, but a lot of people's time perception, I feel like lately, I feel like everybody has ADD now, right? And time perception is warped. And it's because lots of stuff is going on around us. You know, I know what I bring this up quite a bit, but geomagnetic weather is real. Solar weather is real. The polar shift is real. All these things are real, and they're affecting a lot of things. And, they don't talk about it. The mainstream doesn't want to talk about it. They don't want people to know about it. But the world is really weird right now. Like, I mean, you could talk to kids, younger kids, like teenagers, and ask them, do you think the world's weird? And they'll be like, yeah, it's really fucking weird. Right? Whereas when I was a teenager, I mean, I was kind of more like question authority and like, kind of like rebellious. But like if someone asked me if the world was weird, I wouldn't be like, I wouldn't think it was weird. I would just be like, I just thought that's the way it always was. But now people, even younger kids, are like, yeah, they're like, what the hell is going on here? What is happening? So, hi, Trukilla. This is a cool. That's everything is lately changed me out. Got from work. Looking forward to you. All right. Have a good night. Thanks for stopping by. Okay. Yeah. I'm with you, sister. Right there is what I'm talking about. I'm not doing that, but I would love to be. Yeah. Yeah, that's another. I mean, like I said, you could go on yourself and ask questions and see what it says. I'd be curious what other people. Does that name come up again? Like the most random name ever. And it even gave me a date of birth for this girl. I don't remember what it was because I went through most of them, but it even gave me a date of birth, and it said that she was born in 1997. And it gave it a month and a date. So it's like literally like fictionalizing an entire character that he was being investigated for murder for. I don't know. It makes me feel like there's got to be something somewhere there, but I don't know. You know what? We are like right on the same. Absolutely, some enemies. So I had this discussion with somebody one time. I said, like how everybody was really excited about the sundials, right? In Roman times, they came up with the sundial. So now we can keep time, right? Now we can keep time. No longer do people have to look to the stars to determine what time it is, right? You don't have to do that anymore. You have to look at the sun and stuff like that and recognize the changing in the seasons and all these things that we're a part of Mother Earth, right? Now we're going to make a sundial and make it easier. And I said, do you know what that did, in my opinion? What making that sundial did was create an entire class of slaves. Think about it. Before they were able to keep track of time, before they were able to say, well, the sundial, it's at 1 or it's half past or whatever, right? They can't really get you to like follow some type of schedule based on an exact time. It's more or less like you're looking at the sun where it is. And people in general are going to know, hey, meet me when the sun's half past the donkey's ass. But the thing is the sundial to me it's like an enslavement device, truthfully. Think about a world without any clocks. What would that be like? It would be so different. And even imagining it is just, it's incredible, really, right? And it seems like it'd be so impossible. And sure, right now it could be, but it could have been a world with no clocks, depending on how things went about. Why did they have to get a clock? Why couldn't people just, develop? I understand. I'm not saying all technology is bad, not at all. But the whole clock situation, I've 100% given a lot of thought to, because time to me is fascinating. I've given a lot of thought to that as well. And, a lot of the esoteric teachings say, that all things are happening at once and they're all in these, sort of like the snake. I forget the name of that, but, And that's kind of what like the fourth dimension is like if you right now we're Euclid, third dimension. If we go up into the fourth dimension, then we're experiencing time. It's like a completely different experience, right? Like if you've ever astral projected or lucid dreamed or anything like that, and you start having conversations with people that are dead, or you're a little kid again and you're doing something, you're there, like you're there, right? Like your mind is there and it feels real. And if you really practice lucid dreams, you can say to yourself, am I dreaming? I'm going to pinch myself. And then you're aware that you're dreaming. And that's really fucking cool when you're in a dream and you're aware that you're dreaming, because then you can really start doing some cool shit like flying and stuff like that. And so why is that less real than our waking than this? Why is one more real than the other? Because it feels pretty fucking real when you're in it. Especially if you have vivid dreams, But anyway, I imagine that that's what the fourth dimension is like. Not exactly, but something like that. Where that there are these other things around, like Euclid, this geometric construction that we're in right now. You're aware that it's there, but you're not there. You know what I mean? And then there's more dimensions above it. And you can't even imagine. I don't think we can even imagine what those are like. So guys, I am really going on like some crazy tangents tonight. And I bless anybody who's sitting here listening to me with this stuff. Just looking at the chat. That's where we're at right now, right? But you can live in that world, right? You can. The thing about it is, for me, is like you can make sense of it for yourself. Like a lot of the stuff that we're being fed is just to induce fear and to confuse us. When you confuse people, it's easier to control them. When people are afraid, it's easier to control them. You saw during COVID and after 9/11 how much freedom people are willing to give away in order to feel safe. People will give away all kinds of freedoms if they feel safe. People will put on a mask that does absolutely nothing, but they're told that it will block a virus, and they will wear it in their car, and they will drive around like this out of fear. When you can look now, and people know, I think at least most people know at this point that was ridiculous. I'm not saying that COVID didn't happen or that people didn't die from it. Don't misinterpret. I don't want to offend anyone, because I know that a lot of people died and there were serious consequences from that. But what I'm saying is the fear that causes a person to wear a mask, that 100% guarantee, I can tell you from the jump, I was saying this even at my job, does not protect you from it doesn't work that way. Like, it just doesn't work that way, right? And yet people did it. A lot of us did it. And then they even were in their car doing it. That's fear. And that's sad to me. And I don't want people to be afraid. I don't want people to be afraid. I want people to know that they have the power within themselves. That we all have that inner divinity. We all have that choice. And to choose to kindness and love and compassion, and choose those every time, over and over again. Don't let that darkness win the fear, But yeah, I mean, the freedoms are being taken away more and more. I mean, how close are we to 1984 and Brave New World right now? Like, it's seriously. behind her eyes. Oh yeah, I saw this. That was so good. I love any kind of like movies where any kind of movies where they fuck with timelines or like dimensions and stuff like that. There's another one, the 3-body mind, or the three body problem on Netflix. That's wild. Have you guys seen that one? That's a wild one. Yep. Oh, too much info. I'm sorry you're suffering. I'm really sorry you're suffering. I've felt that way before. And so I'm sorry you're suffering like that. What's this say? Research done recently, Milky Way, and I'm not sure. I think that's out of context. And guys, like, like the whole UFO thing, like, how many of you guys believe in UFOs? I have a better question, actually. How many of you guys believe that UFOs come from deep underneath the ocean? I mean, the oceans have not been explored at all. NASA is spending billions of dollars to, quote, wink, wink, travel to these other outer planets past the Van Allen belt. That doesn't really seem possible, but we won't talk about that right now. Regardless, meanwhile, here on Earth, we've got people in Africa that have no water. There's a huge drought in South America, by the way. And we don't even know every inch of our own Earth. The depths are so deep in the sea, they don't have technology to go down that far, but they want to spend money to go up there. Does that make any sense? They already have the UFO and underground bases in the water. I mean, they're already there. So a lot of that technology goes back to the Nazis in World War II. And if you study the Nazi symbol, it's a swastika. It's not what you think. I mean, the swastika is a symbol of from other ancient civilizations that the Nazis stole. But the Nazis were very esoteric. They're very, very esoteric, heavily involved in Antarctica. Hey, Wimmer, you want to come up here? You did the Irish goodbye last time, Wimmer. I dropped a link here if anybody wants to come up. I've definitely babbled long enough, and I appreciate you guys listening to me. Oh yeah, Antarctica is wild. There are articles. If you go, I told you the last time about the newspaper archives. It's free. I have to drop a link in my community post. I'll do that after. And you look and they're keywords. You can search any keyword in there, and you just search Antarctica or Captain Cook. There's some wild shit in the newspapers that they don't talk about anymore. Welcome.
Hello.
Oh, let me pick this up because I think, let me make sure this is loud enough. You there? Hello.
Hi there.
Hi, how are you?
Yeah, I'm here.
What's going on? What do you think of all this that I talked about, the Chat GPT?
I thought it was pretty cool. I think I'm having a microphone issue. It's like,
I mean, on our end, I mean, I can hear you okay. Can you guys hear him okay in the chat? Are you purposely not talking, or are you having trouble?
it's like doing a. It's having a repeat problem or something.
Do you want me to kick you off and then bring you back up and see if that works?
Yeah, let's try that.
Okay. All right. Let's try it again. Hi.
Hi, is that better?
Yeah. I mean, it sounded okay before. You were just pausing, so I might have been missing what you were saying. How's it going?
Yeah, it's repeating. I'm gonna sign all the way out.
Okay, yeah. All right, yeah. And I'll drop the link again. All right, so let's see. Copy. Bubbly Waters is in the house. What's up, Bubbly? Okay, and Bubbly says have him turn off his YouTube sound. So I dropped the link again for you, Mike. And she's like, I heard him louder than ever. And thank you to my mods in here, Robin Latham, and I hope I said your last name correctly, and Leslie Vasquez. These guys are great. So make sure you show them some love. Oh, here we are. Let's try it again. Hello?
How's that?
I can hear you.
It just has this weird repeat thing. I'll try to ignore it. I'm on my laptop.
You're on your laptop, okay? And I think Bubbly said to turn your YouTube sound off. I don't know if that makes sense, but I'm not great with like troubleshooting with this stuff. So
where do you do that? YouTube.
Yes. Wait, let me find that comment. Let me find it again. If anybody has a suggestion. Let's see. Where was it? Let's see if anybody got a suggestion? Are you still having like the echo? Oh, here it is. Wait a minute. Here's something. Turn down his sound on YouTube. I don't know. I don't know if that's going to help. Okay.
Where is the sound button on YouTube?
Well, okay. Do you know where the sound button would be? Like, is he supposed to mute? Oh, maybe mute it so you don't hear me. You just, shit, I don't know. I'm getting too confused. This is getting weird.
I think what you mean is there's a second volume button on YouTube only rather than StreamYard.
Oh, okay. So is that what I should do on my end then?
No, me. She was saying.
Okay. Oh, okay.
But it seems to be working pretty good now. So okay. Anyway, yeah, I switched over to my laptop, and yeah, I was fascinated by the Chat GPT stuff because it was one of these nights on here we were talking about Brent Kopaka, and I thought the big thing for me is that the stuff I mentioned the other night about his ICU2, that was all over 4chan in the beginning. So I was just really excited about that. I don't know why. My original idea was, Brian and Brent went in together, but that's because we were influenced by mainstream media. But I could see them. I was trying to type when you were talking. There is another guy who was somehow involved with WSU, and he was a dropout, and he got the exact area you were talking about in Washington. You were reading
Spokane
Yeah.
Valley.
He got swatted in Spokane.
Oh, okay.
And just recently, with some friends on TikTok, we looked up all his stuff, and one of them found his I think it may have been his YouTube account, and it was just so sad watching him. He's real tall. He's like 6'6". They said he was a substance abuser. But when you said Spokane, I thought Chat GPT is getting the two confused.
Yeah, and that's very good point. Because and it's interesting. And then the other question is why, though? You know what I mean? Like, what is it about those two that are connecting other than the SWAT?
Well, I can tell you what I think it was. I think one of two things. I think that Brent Kopaka and this third guy are the whistleblower. Like, remember there was all these rumors about like Kaylee being the whistleblower. They keep that stuff under wraps at universities and stuff. But I think Brian was wise to what corruption is going on, and more at Pullman, not at Idaho, not at Moscow, Idaho.
Right.
So
yeah, I mean, that would make sense because that's where he was studying, and that was the police force he applied to, which is part of his PhD program.
Yes. Yeah, I didn't think it was strange that he applied there.
Me neither.
He may have been doing some consulting work like graduate students do. But it was fascinating to me as well when you read that he had broken into a computer, supposedly.
Yeah, I mean, where is this allegation coming from, right? Like, we can now, that helps in terms of tying together the SWAT that you were talking about in Spokane and a dropout, and what Chat GPT said. I still don't know where they're getting that woman's name from. Very odd.
That may be, I recognize that name when you said it, but I have so much information in my brain about this case that I'm a little bit confused myself. And but I thought,
I feel you, man.
You're like, I'm there,
Yeah, I relate. I got you. I think a lot of us in here, right?
Well, there was just a really it's just really awful that they were doing some sort of essay on women and then covering it up.
Yeah, WSU. Yeah.
That's terrible.
Disgusting. Yeah, it's it's one of those things where it's like everywhere you look right now, it's being exposed. And I think I said this before, but it's like, is it worse, or do we just know about it more now because of all this? Like have more access to it and stuff like that. I don't know. I do feel like people's morality is decreasing, and a lot of people are just becoming victims to their basic instincts, and have lost their humanity. And I just this is me, and it's this has caused me a lot of pain in my life, being the way I am, always trying to see that person's perspective. But even those people who look like they've lost their humanity, I look at and I want to know why. And oftentimes, we find people who have just been, abused, whether it was sexually, physically, or they have a mental health issue that's unaddressed, or they have no social support. And and it's just our whole society. It's like we're not supporting one another the way that we should be. And it's like the age of narcissism. Everyone is focused on themselves.
Yep. It's really sad. We had, the thing I was thinking of, I'll share with you another time, because it's critical to talk about Brian, I think, a little bit, because I joke about it a lot, but I really am concerned about him because I'm thinking that he may be 100% innocent,
Mhm.
and he's just sitting there going, "Oh my God." So
Right. Right.
he,
Sorry, the way you said that was hilarious. I can picture him doing that, I think.
yeah, like the other night, when we had a guest on, I was trying to say he's sitting in his parents' kitchen table.
Yeah.
They yank the door, and he's like, "What the hell?"
Yeah, like
Uh,
he's in his like boxer shorts, like
yeah,
eating some ice cream at 2 a.m., like just trying to munch
yeah.
out, and like all of a sudden, like boom.
And they're like, "Freeze, vegan."
Yeah,
So
exactly. Put down the fake bacon, okay? Like
put down
put
those
it
kale
down.
chips.
Yeah.
Um, and so, but people, it's like they hear something like I mean, it's obvious to me that mainstream media has sources. After what you shared tonight, mainstream media has sources into the university and the courts, and he just got accused. Now
Yeah.
anybody can get accused of stalking these days, male or
Mhm.
female, men
Oh,
especially.
I'm so happy you brought this point up because I hadn't thought about it until you just said it. But I had my little rant the other day about this. That's so true. It's not hard for women to accuse men in this climate right now.
Yeah. Well, and like everyone's like, for 10 or 12 years, everyone's or they're overusing the word stalking. So
A
it's like
hundred percent.
you can't have a you can't have a debate with people or like, oh my God, you're harassing me because I'm the empress of the world.
Yeah, exactly. You're a creep. You're either, and this is what I was kind of getting to before the other day. Like, I like to be advocate. I like to be an advocate for men in this society right now. I think they need it
Yep.
more than. I mean, women, we need our supports too and stuff. But like honestly, like this has been this age is coming where the dynamic is shifting and women are becoming more in power and men are losing their power, and to me that's not natural, and a lot of studies show that women are actually far more brutal than men when they're in power.
Oh yeah, they have a story about a transgender who went female to male and said she wished she had never done it because of the way that society treats men, and they treated her
Hmm.
as a man. So yeah,
Hmm.
people, it's like
That's a fascinating story, though. I really
yeah,
like that story because that's such a great perspective, perspective for that person was a female and changed to a male, and she's noticing how she's being treated differently as
mhm.
a male, and to be able to speak on that, that's crazy, but I believe it. I totally believe it.
And there are some studies coming out where people want to change back.
Oh,
Um,
there's tons. They like to keep that shit low key, but
yeah,
you can find it if you look, and it's horrific. Some of these stories, and a lot of these kids are pissed. They're pissed that why the doctor said it was okay or why their parents said it was okay. They're pissed off, and they have every right to be because it's medical malpractice, and I'll never say otherwise.
yeah, I'm with you. Well,
Over
Brian,
18, really over 25, you know what I mean,
yeah,
when your brain's formed, but
yeah.
under that is it's abuse. But anyway, go ahead about
No, I
Brian.
hear you. And boys, it's a little later. They're saying it's more like 27. So that means Brian Koberger at 28 with some drug experimentation in his life is really just a baby.
Yeah.
You know, he's really smart, but he's, so I could see him, I could see the media, getting some inside scoop on him, embellishing it, and then all of a sudden working with Idaho police. And
Absolutely.
so, because I think that in their circumstantial stance, they're just like, oh, well, we got to say this, it's this and this. We got to be pushing those in the media.
The stalking and the incel thing was so hard in the beginning. Now, thankfully, they backed off, you know, but I never bought the stalking incel thing with him, like not even for a second.
Oh, that's cool. I was not as on top of that as I was on some other things, I
Well, I
guess I
mean,
did.
just as a woman, I looked at him and like I'm just like that doesn't look like the incel person you're talking about. Like, it's not the look, you know, it's not like the hipster look with the, you know what I'm saying? Like, it's just not it. And the guy's in a PhD program. Like, it's not easy to get into one of those. You have to have some emotional maturity and a, you know, intelligence. It just didn't make any sense. Like, incels, it's not how the incels are. When I think of an incel, I first of all, I think it's horrible that there even is such a thing as incel, because women are so bitchy to men nowadays that they feel like they can't even approach them. You know, these young boys that aren't able to develop any kind of relationship skills because of they just get, you know what I mean? I feel like they just get the shit end of the stick right now.
Yeah, it's just really awful. And so I crack jokes a lot where I live.
No, like I like your humor. I catch them in the chat sometimes. And I told you, sometimes I'm the straight man because it'll go right over my head. You know what I mean? So I'm just like, what? Oh, okay. But I love it. It's good because it's dry humor. So
like, people are just so, you know, mean spirited. But if anybody's doing anything dysfunctional towards me, I like to crack jokes about it.
Mm-hmm.
You know, or I just get the heck away.
Yep, those are my two. That's kind of how I am too. I'm either just going to like ignore, or I'm going to engage, you know, I'm going to engage with humor, because that's, you know, it takes a lot for me to get to like nuclear angry. And when I was younger, I used to do that very quickly and easily, but I learned how to control my anger so that I could be a functioning adult without ending up in prison. And
I didn't want charges, so
yeah. Well, I mean, you know, at some point, you know, you have to figure out how to control that if you're a hothead, and I'm a hothead in that sense. But I guess I'm a recovered hothead, I guess. But I still have that in me where I can get there if I need to. But I really, it's just too much energy. It's so negative and stuff. So I just try to make a joke about it.
What's your heritage? Is it Sicilian, Italian?
Believe it or not, it's mostly German and Ukrainian.
Oh, really?
Yeah, but I do have, I 100% have Italian as well, but it's northern Italy. So, but yeah,
northern Italy. Interesting.
Yeah,
Neapolitan.
Yeah,
that's cool.
I can't remember the name of my grandmom's the village there. But yeah, I mean, culturally, I probably identify more Italian, but my aunts, I mean, my other grandmother was from Ukraine, and then, you know, German. So, but yeah, so it's people always, a lot of people think Italian. I think, I have dark hair, dark eyes, so that's a fair. But yeah, Italians do have, we can be hotheads, but
well, that's okay. But so Brian, I was thinking maybe he broke into the computer and learned what was really going on, and that's why they focused on him.
It's, you know, I'm pulling something out from the memory hole. Okay, I'm like, it's trying to suck back in quickly, but I'm going to say it before it goes away. There was something that Lana from Truth and Transparency reported, and I follow her. I think she does really, you know, good work, excellent work. But anyway, she had interviewed Dawn. I think it's Dawn Daniels from WSU. Is she part of the WSU? Yeah. And which blew me away. But I don't believe that she's just like making this shit up. Like, I think, you know, she actually talked to her. No, I wouldn't say interviewed her. She asked her some questions, but basically she got this information that Brian, as part of his criminology PhD program, was involved in like these simulations, which they do it in medicine too, like medicine. It's great teaching tool, but in criminology they had as well. And apparently there was some like camera system or something that was used, and he somehow was involved with doing something with that. So
well, I could see if you're running cover for other people in the dual city area there, because some of these cops are working at the other one. Sometimes one guy,
Fry was at the SWAT. Fry was at the SWAT with Brent Kopaka. I can hear him on the radio. He 100%.
It's just too scary how inbred they are.
Yeah, and he was there. But
And
yeah,
then
go ahead. I'm sorry.
I think Lana found a guy who it might have been Bubbly Waters. She found a guy who worked at Pullman, was one of the SA criminals, and then they moved him over to Moscow. And she
Son
was
of a
just like, "Wait a
bitch.
minute, what's
And
that
like,
guy doing?"
well, yeah, we'll just transfer him over here. You know, he's no longer
Yeah.
he's no longer a piece of shit now because we put him in a different town.
So I don't know what, but you know, the oppression, like when you watch that one backyard backsliding glass door with.
Let me tell you something. Do you know that is when I fell in love with the channel Neeks Peaks? Because when I watched it the first time, it was with Lana because she got that shit before the news did, right? But like I watched it, and the whole time I'm watching, and I'm like, are these people for real? Are they for real? And in my mind, I'm going, if those girls were my girls, those motherfuckers would be hearing from me. Like I was getting so ramped up, you know? And Neeks Peaks really went off, you know, more nicely than I just did. But you're right. The oppression was ridiculous. The way they talked to them. What time was it when they walked up on them about the speaker?
Oh, I think it was like, well, it was like 2 in the afternoon or something.
It was bullshit. And there wasn't,
Five,
they,
or maybe 5.
yeah, they had no reason to even go. They even said, "Well, since we're here, we'll just walk up there." You know, you're walking up there past like 5 other houses, right?
Yeah.
And I don't even hear any music. So what are you guys doing? Really, what are you guys doing?
Well, what was interesting was some of the stuff Bubbly pulled out about. You can hear somebody go, "Is a cop get inside?"
Really, that's hilarious.
Yeah, and then I was zooming in on my my phone, and I was like, "Who is that runs around the corner?" And it's Dylan Mortensen. I took some pictures of the person fleeing and then going in the back door. And
I'm sorry, I'm laughing because like this is insane. I really feel like we need to have at some point what we're going to develop is like an Idaho 4 conference where all of us crazies meet up.
Yeah,
we compare notes, right?
I know. We almost need like our own website which puts verified facts on it, you know, so you can go, "Oh, what was that?" And you just pop on there. Well, I was freaked out that somebody told her to go inside, but I guess she's not 21, so, or at the time wasn't.
Yeah.
But why in a college town, I don't know why you jump inside.
Yeah, I'm not jumping for anybody, period. Although that's my age talking, you know. So when you're younger and you're behaving that way, you're afraid of something.
Well, like the guys at the other house said it too. If you're not 21, go inside. You can hear that one clearly. It's a little quieter when they go up to 1122. But I was just like, what, the cop can't make you come back outside? It's just so stupid.
Well, truthfully, they can't though, right? Like, I mean, if we're going to talk about why I was outraged and probably what you saw was the cop can't make them come back outside. What are you making the person come back outside for? Because they live there?
If they hear you say that and you flee, you say, "Look, you're obviously under 21." You know.
Okay, fair enough.
But,
they could ask you for your ID or whatever. I get it. Yeah,
but we were talking about the oppression. It's hard. It's hard as a male, and if you grew up on the East Coast too. It like Rosendahl didn't rub me the wrong way until recently, and of course, like snapping the ID is way out of line, but it's forgivable. If you said, "No, I was just trying to," I don't know why I did it. You know,
well, it might have been to save like paperwork or something. I don't know if anybody ever found out. It's weird. Yeah,
I'm not going to charge you the $350, but I'm serious, you know. But Kaylee's response is what everybody was talking. Like Kaylee was so standoffish to him, and she's not that way normally. Like all the other stuff I've seen of her, she's not. You know, even at the Grub truck, you know, she's still like, "Oh, I think I got a free one."
Well, she's intoxicated as part of it, right? I don't know. Like what I saw in Kaylee was somebody who was just a very confident young woman, and I was very impressed by her. I don't know, and this is just my opinion, you know, because I hear what you're saying. Like she seems standoffish, but like I don't picture her being I'm not overly friendly to cops, really. Even when I was that age, you know, it's kind of like, oh fuck, here we go, you know.
Yeah.
But she was polite and direct and everything. But I know there are a lot of, like, I guess, stories or gossip or whatever about that guy Rosendahl or whatever, right? You said he didn't rub you the wrong way until recently. What changed?
Well, I wasn't really, for whatever reason, I was focused on other stuff and not like, even everyone's creeped out about the earlier police knock on the door. I don't know. That stuff just never really, it seemed like cops in a college town behavior to me. Maybe I'm just out of touch now.
Wait, when they knocked on the door, you mean like for the party?
Yeah, the nighttime one.
So
And
I can tell you what bothered me about it. It was the language they were using and the way they were talking about the students, knowing full well that they're being on tape, probably not thinking anybody would ever see it, which means this is how they talk all the time.
yeah.
But the other thing, like when they got the beer and they were like dumping it, it's like that's something a dad does, not a cop. Like, that's not your right to, just because there's beer sitting on the side of a house doesn't mean that it was illegally purchased and is going to be illegally consumed. It's on the personal private. If a cop came up to your house and saw a case of beer on the side, start dumping the beer, like, wouldn't you be pissed off? Like, it doesn't give him any right just because it's a student house to do that.
Yeah, that's true.
what rubbed me the wrong way. Like, that pissed me off.
Well,
And it's like,
especially with them trying to be this super loving police force that's in touch with everyone's emotions and building, it's like you can't be both.
I don't see it. I see the cops as adverse. This is what I saw, but I don't live there, and I'm sure there's people have different opinions. But usually, like when I was in college, the cops were those guys. They were cool. Like, they weren't like trying to like bust you for walking across the field stumbling because you're intoxicated. Like, that was outrageous to me too. Like, if I was sending a child there to school and they got a ticket, I would be like, what? You were like, okay, fine, maybe you were intoxicated and you're not 21, but number one, you're walking, you're not driving, right? And why did they stop you? What was their cause for that? I mean, there's like, to me, I did not see them stumbling. Did you see them stumbling?
No, and we know now that was Rosendahl, and it's a complete sham. There was
Yeah.
no charges pressed. And see, here's another thing about the Grub truck. Some of those names that come across the Twitch stream, the nicknames, are directly related to the events of the evening. So one of them is Apologetic Band Kid.
Interesting.
I picked up on that right away because the police body cam and that little scam. So I was thinking it's not the three, the Banfield three, as we might call them, but it is the guy with the bushy eyebrows,
Saeed or whatever his name was. Yeah.
He's more apologetic. Oh, sorry, I got these cans, but I don't have my driver's license. He's more the
which was also ridiculous if you think about it, because you're walking. Like, what if, like, I just tried to it made no sense to me that he was even being stopped. He's not even stumbling. The problem with him is he's walking on a college campus with beer that's sealed. And so they're just automatically going to suspect that he's not 21. I mean, this is not how civil rights works. Is it different on a college campus? I don't think so.
Yeah, since we're thinking that they're very, very corrupt. I mean, I was trying to say this too, maybe 2-3 nights ago when we all were talking. I've been watching Rolo Mano's YouTubes of the police body cam. It's like if 1% of that is accurate, those people in the background committing crimes, this is some serious thing.
I have to take a look at his videos, because I'll be honest, I saw some of it like way back when, and then I haven't watched them recently. So I'll have to take a look at some of them.
He's getting better, and I like it when he does the work rather than he goes part way and says, "I don't want to show you what I found. It's too graphic."
Yeah,
I
it's
wish
like, yeah,
he's
it's like, don't even tell me then, because you know what? Now I'm gonna be up all night trying to see this shit and go
yeah,
across night, you know?
and it's only recently that I can improve stuff with different filters, and I don't want to do that. If I start doing that, I'm going to want to like, you know, get further involved in the case. But
Right.
how
Because
can
you
I?
aren't right now, because currently you're not obsessed or anything with this.
No, I'm not obsessed at all. It's just like I had to a few people I had to stop talking to them about it. You know,
Yeah.
even if they ask, they go, "So what's going on with that Idaho thing?" I'm like, "I'm not going to tell you because I'm going to start irritating you in about 5 minutes, and I won't even realize I've talked that long." So
Yeah, I'd just be like, do you realize there are people that do 7-hour live streams about this case? That's what's going on.
yeah,
Okay? Like, that's what the fuck is going on. That should tell you everything you need to know, right? Like, shit is not normal. It's not normal, you know?
yeah. It's well, it's sort of the the OJ or the Charles Manson of our generation, you know. Um, but
True.
I think it's
Sorry.
bigger.
Yeah,
As
I
far
was gonna
as
say, I think I mean it's hard to know because I was much younger for OJ and I wasn't, Manson was like, I don't know, probably before I was born, but you know, and I did a thing about Manson. And I don't know if that turned out to
like
be, yeah, but I won't get into that right now. But
yeah,
regardless, OJ, I was around, I was, like young 20s or something during OJ, and I wasn't obviously not like this. I mean, we didn't have internet and stuff like this, but it was like super interesting to follow the case and
well, and
um
everybody was talking about it. I mean, the
us all the time. But that was if I don't know if you watched recently the Menendez documentary on Netflix,
I
but
watched some of that.
yeah, so one of the things at one, I don't want to spoil anything that you haven't seen, but it just reminded me that happened when right around that happened and then OJ happened, and that's why Court TV blew up, because before those two trials nobody nationally followed trials like they do now, and that was the start of the Menendez trial and then the OJ trial.
Wow. Well, OJ, we don't have to go down that one either, but I really, it's fascinating that that was the first DNA case, and
Yeah.
there's a really great. I was maybe I said this on your live once to Kane. Um, there's a great Larry King live interview with the two guys that uh, defended OJ based on DNA and some other things.
Hmm.
Barry Scheck, I think, is one of them,
I
and
forgot all about him. Oh my gosh, yeah, now I know. Yep.
they founded Project Innocence.
Really.
Yeah. And it's because of the success with OJ, and I was just moved watching them because I was like I was in Colorado. I'm a
Hmm.
Colorado State graduate,
Hmm.
and I was like the only one saying, you know what, I'm thinking that he might be innocent. People are like, are you nuts? Blah blah blah.
Hmm.
But I watched a lot of the important. I couldn't back in those days watch a lot of the stuff, but I watched like the opening statements and I watched the blood sample bag thing that I mentioned. So
Hmm.
yeah, they cheated.
They absolutely cheated. And
Yeah.
so, you know what? And that's why I remember culturally, it was a really interesting experience too. Because if you remember, I remember in the news when they showed that he was innocent, there was a large group of Black folk in the room that stood up and cheered, like they were all watching it together. And it was like a win for the Black community,
Yeah.
because they really felt like, they're getting a just trial here, and you had the villain Furman, the racist Furman there, and
Yeah.
so culturally it was very moving in that regard too.
Yeah.
So actually that brings to mind the Rodney
Yeah.
King thing.
That
I,
was about the same time too, right? Right before.
yeah, and I actually, well, I'll tell you a funny story, but wait, let me there's something I wanted to say before I forgot. Oh, I remember. All right, I have written down. I know what else. I'll remind, because I want to talk to you about Delphi just briefly, but Rodney King really made me upset. Like culturally at the time and everything else, like I was really, really angry about the Rodney King thing, you know? And I I I just, you know what, I'm going to tell that story another time. I'm going to tell it
Okay.
another time. I don't want to bring it up tonight. That's a story
Yeah.
for another night, but I'll hold on to that one. But anyway, the going back to the Menendez and the OJ and stuff, you know, I didn't realize that, but I either heard it or read it or something, but they were talking about how that was really the start of this whole national obsession with, I shouldn't call it an obsession. These trials should be televised. We have a right to see what's going on in the courtroom, right? So justice
Yeah.
is served.
And is it really that big of a prep? I guess if you're a small town prosecutor or something, it's a little hard to deal with a media circus, but
Murdoch.
yeah. So, but I don't know. It's fascinating. And
So, something I learned a couple days ago, because I was talking about that document in the Idaho 4 that Jules True Crime Reaction first brought up about the judge giving instructions to request sealed documents.
yes.
And I still haven't found a good answer for that. And I know some people say, oh, that's just a formality. But until I talk to a lawyer who practices in this way, tell me it's a formality, I'm not going to believe that. Because, it's like I really want to know. And I tried to get an answer on Twitter, but nobody got back to me. But I'm still trying to figure that out.
Well,
But
why don't you request a document?
well, I've been going through the documents and I have a list of documents that I want to request to be unsealed, but I fell asleep while I was doing it because it tells you right on there, there's a form. And when you can request the unsealed document, before you do it, they give you a list of things of reasons why some documents cannot be unsealed, some of the reasons why it might be denied. So in other words, they're saying, look, here's all the reasons why we can say no. So, basically before you request, just make sure that this doesn't fit into one of these categories, right?
Oh, that's fair.
Yeah. And so, which makes sense. It saves them time. It saves me time. It saves everybody time, right? Like this is efficient. So, I was going through them and a lot of them are, unfortunately things that like maybe won't be able to be revealed till during trial or after trial. And they will be then, but not now. But there are other ones that if you keep looking, you'll find and say, you know what? I bet you he would unseal this one. There's no reason to have this sealed, And so I found those and I have a list of them. And yeah, I'm definitely going to send in requests for them and see what happens.
That would be fantastic. Yeah. And it seems like a lawyer could help guide you about, go for 1 and 2 on your list, but don't go for the rest right now.
And it actually says that because I did research on that about how to, and it said, you could consult an attorney, and I know somebody who they're fresh out of law school, but they're still an attorney. They may know something about it. So I'm going to give them a call and see. But the Delphi thing is Andrea Burkhardt. I know I talked about her the other night, but she gave an update. She gives daily updates. Lana from Truth and Transparency is also there. And then there's a couple other lawyers there. I think the guy from Defense Diaries, but Andrea's there. And there are 2 things I wrote down that I wanted to bring up to you.
I did, by the way, I did watch her. You said to watch her the other day.
She's great, isn't she?
Yeah, she did a really long show yesterday or the day before, and but I couldn't watch it all. I had to fast forward through some stuff,
I put it on like 2 times speed or 1/2. I can't listen if it's she's actually a lot more. She's a little bit. I think she's tired. I guess is what I'm trying to say. Because normally, she's got to be tired. She's going to the trial all day, and then she comes home, and then she's reporting to people for 2 hours on YouTube.
Yeah.
But she's really the only person. Lana too is doing this, although I don't know if she was there today. Because Andrea said she wasn't there. But regardless, she's being interviewed on News Nation or something tonight because these are the only sources. Like they don't have cameras, and there's anyway. 2 things that I wanted to bring up about it. And how it ties to Brian, honestly. Okay. because I think the Richard Allen story could be a precautionary tale, for somebody like Brent Kopaka. But she said that when they were doing the jury deliberations and they were doing the voir dire, one of the questions to one of the jurors who said, he answered yes, that he has already formed an opinion about this case and doesn't think that he can be impartial. And so the lawyer made the mistake when the prosecutor made the mistake of asking him, well, can I ask you in which direction you're impartial? And the guy said, oh, I think Richard Allen's innocent.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And that's like a big deal, in my opinion, because, in general, in society, we see it on certain YouTube creator streams. Some people, it doesn't matter what the evidence is. It doesn't matter who the defendant is. It doesn't matter how shitty the police force was when they did it. They're always going to believe that they have the right defendant, right? People like this, right? Yeah. It doesn't matter. They will filter everything out to the contrary and make the shit fit. And so, and people too, I think, you want to trust authority. You want to feel safe. You want to believe these. And I don't believe they're all corrupt and bad, but you get my point, right? There clearly are people like this. So the fact that this man says in court, just like that was a big deal, I thought. And so did she. And so I thought that was pretty cool. Yeah. And one of the questions, that they got a hard time over when they were doing the voir dire, Andrea said, was the defense attorney said, is it possible that Richard Allen is innocent? That's what he was asking the jurors, right? That were being chosen. And do you know, Andrea said the defense, the prosecution went ballistic over that.
Oh, wow.
They didn't even want the question to be asked to put that possibility in the minds of jurors because they want them to only believe it's only one way, that he's guilty. And this is just in voir dire.
Yeah. I guess I've never been a lawyer, so I wouldn't know how hard you have to fight for your criminal wins. But why are they so obsessed? I mean, I guess they start
prosecutors, you mean?
Yeah, I said they start taking it personal, and they don't.
Well, in this case, that town is very corrupt, and there's a lot of these cases. You look at that case, and then you see, just like in Canton and Norfolk County, if you follow any of the Turtle Boy stuff, which I highly recommend. But I mean, you've got Farwell now, and then you drag in this other. It's like those types of towns. Every town has corruption, but some of them are just like far worse than others, and it's like the sheriff that shot the judge. You start looking into that town and you start finding all kinds of crazy stuff. This town in Delphi is very, so they have 2 little girls that got killed, and people want justice. And they've decided that this is the man that's going to pay, even if they have a false confession, which, false confession. And then the other thing that really pissed me off, and tell me what you think of this, the bullet. Did you hear about the bullet?
Yeah. Yes, that's like one of the only things I know. And I was looking at how I was watching these experts, these ballistic experts.
Oh my God.
They said, yeah, it can leave a unique signature, but here we are. It's not it's like the IgG of bullets.
Yeah. I mean, it's ridiculous. Like literally they found, I don't remember, let's just call it a 9mm, because I don't remember the gun, but let's just call it, I think it was a 6 hour, right? So it's a 6 hour, right? So they're like, yeah, we found an unspent round bullet that would work in this gun, right? Okay. So what? Like, I mean, when I was a kid, I would find like bullets sometimes out in the woods and shit. It was unspent. It dropped out of the hunter's pocket. It was just on the fucking ground, right? Yeah. So, okay, so we're going to pick this bullet up from the crime scene. And now, and I'm so curious if they got it before or after they did this, because then they did the search warrant at Richard Allen's house and they found a 6 hour, and they're like, oh, here we go. This ties him to the murder. That bullet could go, if I had a 6 hour, it could go in my 6 hour. If you had a 6 hour, it could go in your 6 hour. It wasn't fucking fired. How can you say that's evidence?
Yeah. And here
And
it
the
is.
kids weren't even shot.
It's like the sheath. It showed up later.
Yeah,
You know.
exactly.
And oh, by the way, I think they used it to get the search warrant. I thought is what, just like
Oh, the
Idaho.
bullet.
Yeah.
Which is so pathetic too, because honestly, like I get it. Like you're not going to just find random unspent bullets all over the place, but it's not unthinkable to think in a place like that in a wooded area, right? You know, there's hunters around there. It's not like, and if the girls had been shot, it'd be one thing, but that's not how they were killed. There was no.
Yeah, it's like, wow, how did he drop a bullet? Even if it was him, he just dropped his bullet. Same thing with the sheath. Brian just dropped his sheath
Right.
underneath Maddie Mogan. You know, it's just so stupid. But
It's outrageous. And the crazy part is, this is what I love, right? This is when I like to call people like that conspiracy theorists, because I legit heard somebody saying, well, the reason why, because I'm like, why is the bullet relevant? Were the girls shot? No. Was the bullet fired? No. Then it could come from any gun that's a 6-hour or whatever, right? So how is it? Well, here's why. They said it could be relevant because in order for him to get control of the girls and get them down there from the bridge, he had them at gunpoint. Who's the fucking conspiracy theorist now? Okay.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, like what, the knife wouldn't have scared them, or just
right. Exactly.
They were already scared. They took a picture of somebody on the bridge.
Yeah, like who's creating bullshit up right now? You know, it goes both ways. So, you know, like don't feed me that.
And now we have hair. They have hair in the hand of her, and they're like, oh, is it pet hair or human?
I saw another creator who's one of those creators that I listen to, even though I disagree with many times, but you know, you can gain things from people. I try to challenge it. You know, one of those people that always thinks that they always have the right defendant, right? Yeah. And he said, that's where I first learned it. And what his post was, it said, someone's hair was found in one of the young girl's fists. Is it possible that it's Richard Allen's wife's hair? I'm like, my head is exploding right now. Yes. My head is fucking exploding right now.
They learned that from the Gilgo Beach case.
Yeah,
that's what they found, a hair of the Gilgo Beach killer's wife.
But
out
he
in
killed
the
people at his house, though, right? Didn't he kill people in his like back? Yeah. He had some right, like in that. This was out in the middle of the fucking woods. You know what I mean? Yeah. I'm like, what? And it was in her fist. It wasn't like laying someone. It was like, that's somebody who grabbed somebody's hair.
Yeah, and hung on.
And said, hey, like, I'm going to help you find who killed me. Yeah. And it doesn't match Richard Allen. Is it his wife's hair? Fuck out of here.
Well, and I was thinking when you were talking about bullet stupidity, and then of course we got sheath stupidity.
Right.
You know, the OJ thing was the blood sample. Maybe I've said this to you before. The blood sample bag. Oh, yeah. Oh, we got missing cc's of blood out of the sealed test tube.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, because that's normal.
And we got sprinkled blood in places that it couldn't have got, and the cops are lying. So it's always the knee slapper, you know. It's like, right. It's always, oh, and miraculously on our second walkthrough, we found a bullet that just happens to fit one of his guns.
Yeah, and see, it makes sense, even though it wasn't unspent and they weren't shot, that this obviously ties him to the crime, and now we have to charge him and put him in prison in solitary confinement in like one of the worst prisons in the state, make him lose his mind, give false confessions that make no sense,
half beat him to death. You know.
And then make his attorneys leave. They can't have him. And now we're not going to televise the trial. No, this is not fishy at all. No, this is highly suspect. And that's why I'm so happy.
Can you see why I'm afraid to drive out there?
Listen, I don't blame you.
They'll be like, who's this jackass?
Yeah. Well, hang out with Andrea and Lana. They're tough. I'm sure you're tough too. I get it.
No, they'll definitely arrest me because I'm the big white guy. They'll be like, who are these assholes from YouTube? Oh, let's make an example of him.
Absolutely. Yeah,
And
I definitely try to avoid places so I don't cause, because sometimes like I said, I can get very passionate about things. And when I get passionate, sometimes I am not able to maintain emotional control. And since I know that about myself, I definitely try to avoid those situations unless I feel really strongly about it. Like something has to be done, and then you have to do it.
well, I did look at a map. I looked at the map, and Delphi is right just a little bit north of Indianapolis. Like,
Okay.
and Brian got stopped on I-70 east of Indianapolis, which is
Hmm.
one of those sort of state highway patrolman areas. So I just that didn't all that stuff about them getting pulled over twice didn't really get my juices flowing either. Like I was just
Well,
like, it's weird, but I don't think that they were helicoptering them.
well, according to Howard Bloom, and I don't know how much credibility you want to give to him.
Well, he said that the food that Xana ordered was from Burger King in his book.
Oh, really? Well, there you
Yeah.
go. And plus, my dog ate the book after I was only able to read the first few chapters.
Oh, that was a pretty funny episode. I remember
My
watching
dog decided for me, look, bitch, you're not
Yeah,
reading any more of this garbage. We're getting rid of this. Nobody wants to hear about it.
that was funny. Well, he also said that Brian was going to blow up buildings with he
Is
broke
that
into
where that rumor started?
Yeah, that's Howard Bloom. He said I actually he didn't put it in the book, but he said it on one of the shows, one of the YouTube shows we were all watching right about the time the book came out.
Mm-hmm.
And he said there's a really big thing, that he discovered when he was in Idaho. And then everyone wanted him. He goes, okay, hold on. And he literally got off the screen for 2 minutes. It seemed like 20.
Mm-hmm.
And he came back and he said, okay, I can talk about it. He said, and it was just like, what is this, Oklahoma City bombing?
That's such, that's, to me, it's irresponsible. And the funny thing about it is I remember vaguely hearing about it, but I literally didn't give it a second thought. Like I never even looked into it because it just sounded like such bullshit to me, and it still does,
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah,
I mean,
he's the one that was really driving the helicopter thing. The helicopter followed him, FBI, all the way from Idaho. And like, well, one of the main things is they lost him in Colorado for a half a
yeah.
day. So I don't know.
Yeah, and
I always
he's not even a great author. I'm going to be honest with you. I mean, I read a lot of books, and like it was elementary the way he was doing. I could have done a better story about that trip than he did. Like it was just
he's
corny.
just incaptivating. Like I got it on audio.
That's a great word. I love that word.
I mean, I was all into maybe it's partially the person reading it because he doesn't read it. A professional reader reads it.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, man, I'm like caught into, like, I know the story,
Right.
But I tried to tell Brett Norton and all those guys, I was like, look, like most of this is stuff that we already know.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot new.
No, he swiped a lot from her. I hope he gave her some money for it.
I hope so too. He invited her up to New York for the book signing.
Oh, okay.
He might have footed the bill for some of that because her and like 6 women from TikTok went up together, and they had a scream of a time. And I lived in Midtown Manhattan for almost 20 years, so it's really all that. It's the bomb. So I think they had a great time, but I figured.
Oh yeah, you can't not.
Brad would come home with a boyfriend.
What's that?
I thought Brett would come home with a boyfriend.
Oh yeah.
From the trip, because Howard Bloom was talking her up all over the place. So.
Oh, I picture that. I totally picture that. Yeah.
But I don't think any of those guys have any ill will.
No. I mean, this is what he does. He's written other books for other crimes. He just didn't realize what he was stepping into when he wrote this book. I mean, he was getting threats and everything. He was like, oh, fuck, what am I doing?
Now, isn't that other big writer, Patterson's, going to come out with one?
That's what Kelly in my chat was saying the other day, I think.
Yeah.
Have you guys heard about that? Patterson, I think it's James Patterson, writing a book on this topic.
I hope he writes it from our perspective.
That would be a really good book.
Yeah, because he was saying something in the media like, for his generation, it rises to the level of not To Kill a Mockingbird, but what was the other one where the writer from New York went out? There was a Truman Capote went out and wrote about the killer.
Oh, In Cold Blood.
Yeah, he said
Yeah.
it was like that. Well, Truman Capote wrote the truth. I mean, I guess I watched the movie. I mean, like, I'm no expert, but he did go out and meet with the guy quite a bit, but I hope Patterson could do it the other way, because hasn't he written some really interesting stuff?
He has. Somebody wrote, I better get these spent shells out of my truck. Oh shit. Right? It's crazy. No, but what the tie-in, I guess, with Brian and Richard Allen to me is like, yes, like Brian looks okay right now, he's well fed and stuff, but like it's just the whole power of the state, to hold people like this. And if they're not going to give us like some decent, like, probable cause, that's why we're all getting in a frenzy out here, because, people believe he's innocent, and he is, again, I'll say it again, I just feel like a disclaimer, presumed innocent, right? But like, I agree, like, I don't see where this proof is. And because the gag order is awful, it's stupid, they shouldn't have them. The public wants to know. And that's why I say, like, even with when people get upset, I don't want to get into the Gonzalez thing, or I did a soapbox twice, and I don't want to turn people off with that. But I will just say one thing: if you want to get mad at anybody, get mad at who did this, who arrested him.
Yeah, because it doesn't look like they really had grounds.
Sorry, I'm just adding myself back to the stage here. Hold on. Okay. I'm here still. I don't know if you can still hear me, but
yeah, it seems like they rushed the whole thing. It's hard to think that they are that incompetent, because how do you, like, just the stuff that we've seen so far, like Mowry and Brett Payne on the stand, and then the other way around.
Oh yeah, that was ridiculous. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I don't know what happened. I'm kind of like off somewhere, and I'm in like another dimension still talking to you about this. That's okay, right?
No, it's really freaking me out just because you said the word dimension.
All right, wait. I think I'm coming back now. I might be back. Okay, there we go. All right, I'm back.
It'd be weird. I was gonna like wake up from a lucid dream, pinching myself and going, I just dreamed about this case in Idaho. Now I got a question for you. I can see the one. Can I also watch the chat when I'm a guest?
I'm not sure. Are you able to see it on this? Like, I don't know what your toolbar looks like over there.
It says.
Do you have like a toolbar, or?
It just has the microphone. It says everyone can. You're in the show. Settings, present, leave studio. I can't hit leave studio. Maybe
is there like a comment? Do you see a comment section on there, or?
Yeah, comments way over here. Oh, there we go. Okay.
Yeah, click on it, and then you should be able to see the.
Did everybody leave? They got bored?
No, we still have quite a few people in here, actually. See, Bubbly's helping us out. Yes, you can. To the right at the top. There you go.
Well, I learned a lot watching Bubbly Waters.
Oh yeah.
I watched her stuff for many, many months and learned like a ton of things. Like, yeah, I'm still a little bit freaked out about.
1 second, I just want to say bye to Robin. Don't be sorry. Please, like, get rest. You're not obligated. And thanks for helping me out with the mod. Go ahead.
Yeah, the mountain lion.
Mm-hmm.
Like she could hear in some of the Linda Lane stuff, she could hear this thing that sounded like a mountain lion,
Mm-hmm.
and there's some really cool video that sort of isolates the cat. And like when Linda Lane first came out, I was like seeing the cat and I was cracking jokes. Like people even said, "What cat?"
Right.
Now it's like a thing. And but yeah, you can even see it in one stuff they did. You can see it get up on its haunches out by the trucks, or whoever is out there in the parking lot.
Yeah.
But I based on what we were talking about the Idaho versus Pullman conflict, they're the Cougars.
Oh,
Washington State Cougars. Isn't
interesting.
that fascinating?
It
So
really is. And I posted a picture on one of my videos, like one of my first videos where I didn't show my face and I just showed like interesting weird shit about the case in the front, and then I talked. Have you ever seen what the actual Joe Vandal mascot looks like? It's like a
yeah,
metal. Have you seen it? It's freaky as
yeah,
hell.
it looks like our buddy Reed there.
It's
Looks like
scary.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, it's like that's scary.
Yeah.
And also, like, who picks that word as their mascot? Vandal. I mean, you're not vandal, well, vandals and pirates. And I actually, when I first started doing, like, I was doing deep diving with 1122 King Road. I mean, he was funny though. Like, I would get into little tiffs with him, not in any bad way, but like, he was very demanding. He was acting like he was running like a, I felt like he was a colonel and I was like a soldier, and it was just like, you do this and then you do that or whatever. And then he'd be
Yeah.
bitching at me about the other people, how I'm like, this person's a freaking idiot. That's not how he talks though. He talks he's very parses his words. It's just interesting. But anyway, where was I going with this? It was something about the Vandals. Oh, I
Well,
know. I started doing a deep. So I went on YouTube. You could do this. Anybody could do this now. I screen recorded. I'm sure it's still up there though. And I typed in Joe Vandal, and I found videos from kids from like the I'm gonna say the 80s. And now they made these videos when they were like they were teenagers, like 14 or 15, and they're using like a VHS recorder. Okay. So, we all know what that looks like. It's not like, it's crazy. And it's from, you know what, since I'm talking about it, I gotta pull it up because you gotta see this. It's because they pretend like Joe Vandal is coming to kill them. And then it's crazy. And
oh my gosh.
yeah, it's crazy. I'm going to see if I can find it. Hold on. Give me a second here.
I wonder if that was like an urban myth out there, like Joe Vandal's coming to get you.
Yeah. That's what I'm saying. Like I got the impression, I wonder if I hope I can find it because it's just wild. Can you still hear me?
Yeah.
All right, cool. All right. I really hope I can find this. Because it was the weirdest shit. And like, yeah, he was like, you better watch out. Like, Joe Vandal's going to come and kill you. And then one of the kids gets an actual freaking gun. Like, I'm not a gun, an actual knife. I mean, it's just crazy. I'm like, is this how they live out there in Idaho? Like in six? Like, this shit's crazy. Oh, I think I might have found them. Here we go. All right, hold on. Let me pull it on here. Go back to StreamYard. And here we go. This shit's crazy. The hunt for Joe Vandal.
Hello, I'm Steve McGanahan, and this is Wild Hunt. We are doing a story on Vandal Joe sighting, the last Vandal fan. There used to be plenty of them in this area, but then, since society has been growing, there has been less and less, and more of the Boise State dead. So, let's go. Hey,
Isn't this funny?
Deer, fish, and other small game animals. An occasional deer
You see the quality of the.
That was a dive roll.
Yeah. I'm going to find. I want to show a couple. Shit, that scared me. I forgot about that.
He is not having much luck. I'm going to try to talk. Okay. Are you doing good?
They're playing Joe the Vandal.
Is that the Little League field in the background?
I don't know.
Got his nose.
Yeah. So Joe Vandal's like Bigfoot or something.
Yeah.
Strange creatures they are. We need to ask what his name is. Maybe he'll tell us.
Is your name Vandal Joe?
Maybe.
All right, I'm gonna pull up another one of the videos because you got to see this.
Hey! Oh God! He is quite the brute. He is.
Quite the brute.
All right, give me one second.
Acting is so good.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? All right, so check this out. These kids get into some shit. All right, this one's really weird too. All right, here we go. They have one called. They have one called "It's Killing Time." Okay.
Oh my
I
God.
don't think their parents were supervising them too much. All right, hold on. And actually, one of them ends up. The dad comes in and he starts asking him if he's the biggest drug dealer in the area.
Oh wow.
Yeah. All right, here we go.
Go. I'm Bill Belichick, and I'm after the labor boy. He lives in my basement. He lives in my basement, and he just reached his hand. Don't tell me how he's got the wreck. He got the wreck. God.
Is there a little hatchet there?
Oh. I have to catch him. No, go back into the hiding station. All right, we're gonna have to go back now. Where'd your cowboy hat go?
He was flapping his wings.
Does have like a little hatchet there or something? I mean,
Yeah.
All right, all right. There's some interesting parts. There's one that they do really well that's pretty creepy too. Let me just see. He ends up tying this kid up and
Oh my
putting him in
God.
the closet. Yeah, it's crazy. It's crazy. All right, so wait, let me show a couple more of these. I'll put the link for this channel. They're probably gonna like people will start watching this shit and be like, these men are all grown up now and married and stuff. Believe me when I say I already looked them up and saw what was going on because I did. I did, right?
Yep.
Let's see. I want to. Oh, here we go. Here's one. And I said the 80s. This tells you about my time perception. This was 15 years ago. It wasn't the 80s. So, but anyway, all right. Check this one out.
Oh my God. Oh my God.
This is what young boys in Idaho do for fun. Ridiculous, right? I mean, I don't see this turning into like an after school special or anything, do you?
No, and I can't believe that particular song because I've watched that video the last year and a half like 10 times. Like, you know how the songs come up on your Did we freeze? I think we got frozen. Can you hear me okay? Are you there?
Hey guys, Can you guys hear me? Hey, sorry. What the fuck just happened? That was crazy. I think the combination of Marilyn Manson and then of course, I had to say school shooter, which I just said it again, but I refuse to censor myself. So yeah, I don't know what happened. That was super weird. I'm just trying to get some light in here. I don't know if it was the music on the bubbly. I'm working on that so hard, girl. I'm really trying to get to the fourth dimension. I can typically only do it when I'm asleep though. So yeah, I'm gonna end the live just because this is kind of awkward. My internet has a problem, I guess. So that sorry, excuse me. There's some other interesting videos on that channel. I think they have like 25 subs. I mean, this is 15 years ago. And it means absolutely nothing other than the fact it's just like the culture around the university there. So I thought it was cool. But thank you all so much for staying here and listening to me. I really appreciate it. And thank you. Yeah, I'm okay. I promise. I'm fine. I'm totally fine. I need a drink. Let me just get a, yeah, I'm totally fine. Yeah, I know. That's why, like, I'm against censorship, but you guys are awesome. You are also awesome for hanging. Wimmer, you rock. Thanks for checking on me, Sudie. That's really, I appreciate it. So I choke on my own saliva. Lex. You guys are cracking me up. But yeah, Wimmer, you were awesome. It was a great conversation. And you know, I'm gonna try to be back again tomorrow. I have some other stuff to go over. And yeah, if anybody in the you know any of you guys in the chat, you're welcome to come up on panel if you want to, you know, shoot the breeze or whatever, you know. Yeah, he does rock, right? So anyway, love you guys, okay? And I just want to I just want to say thanks again. And yeah, and I'm fine. I'm just signing out because I gotta go check out what happened to the stupid internet. But anyway, all right, thanks guys. Have a good night.